I don't know about you, but Bakugo is my personal favorite character in MHA. He's one of those cool characters with a little bit of a misunderstood personality at the beginning until everything finally unravels and we finally understand who Bakugo truly is. He is just so cool with his quirk, with his personality, and his just I can do it all demeanor. And I figured that I would throw that personality into Naruto and also give him those abilities, and I just wanted to know what would happen. So I spent the last 2 weeks scripting out this video, and thus I finally came out with what if Naruto had Bakugo's explosion quirk. If you guys go on to enjoy today's video, then definitely make sure to go down below, slap the like button, and definitely leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite part of the video was. That said, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Naruto Uzumaki, the son of the 4th Hokage and bearer of an incredible Kekkie Genkai. What will become of him if we change his upbringing? Well, let's find out. Naruto is going to have his first year of life remain about as consistent as it can possibly be. Essentially, everything in canon will remain the same, with even the masked man's attacks and Naruto's Jinchuriki status remaining the same. He will eventually end up growing into a different person than he would be in the original, due to the fact that this time around Hiruzen's actually going to be keeping his promise to Kushina and actually taking care of Naruto, grooming him to become a powerful ninja just like his father would be someday. And no, I don't mean grooming in that way, you weirdo. Anyways, as the years would pass, he would eventually get to the tender age of 4 years old, and he would grow up under the care of Hiruzen, as I previously stated. So he would always be told about how lucky he is by others, and because of this, he feels shielded from the world, because Hiruzen actually does his job miraculously. I know obviously this isn't something that would generally happen in the original canon, but because of the nature of this what if, I think I could take the liberties of actually changing this aspect of the story to make the story that I want to tell be compelling and work. Eventually, however, he would be told about his lineage at the age of 4 years old and discover who his father is, that being Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage. He would then, after this, immediately end up discovering the nature of the Kekkie Genkai that he would have buried underneath himself, something that his father nor mother would have even given any indications that he would end up unlocking. Naruto, after this point, would end up having massive expectations placed on him to be someday better than his father Minato, or at the very least compete with him. But with Naruto being told of who his father is, he would hear countless stories about how great his father is, how much his father did, how fast he grew, how smart he was, and overall just constantly be told about how great this other person is. I don't know if any of you guys could relate to this, but growing up, did you guys ever have anybody who you guys were compared to? Somebody that, while it's not their fault, you were always put second fiddle to just because they were succeeding in a place where you currently weren't yet. And that's pretty much in the position that Naruto's going to be for pretty much his entire life, until eventually one day he may or may not get as powerful as his father Minato. He would eventually end up growing up and becoming a lot more powerful than many of the other kids around his age, perfecting, quote unquote, his Kekkie Genkai to a level of a Geni, right? Nothing too crazy, but definitely something Bakugo would be able to display. Something along the lines that he would have during the practical exams. And yes, it would be kind of ludicrous to give him that, but I'm still going to be doing so regardless. It's obviously not that crazy. Just think about how powerful Bakugo would be at the age of 14, and that's pretty much what we're going to be giving Izuku. About middle school levels powers of strength when it comes to the explosion and magnitude that he can actually let out. Naruto around this time would be at about the same levels of strength as a Genin, but a very, very high-ranking Genin, or even a mid-ranking Chunin, as strong as he would possibly be, far surpassing Sasuke, but still remaining weaker than his young father when he was at the same age. Consistently, when Naruto's growing up, he would always be told that he's doing a good job, with a lot of times it being an underhanded compliment, with people saying, "You're doing great, you're doing exactly what your father would have done," or "You're doing good, this is what Minato would have wanted," or "Hey, do a little bit better, Minato would have done this." You know what I mean? Like, he's constantly having to hear about how much better his father is than him. This would be something that would be engraved into the mind of Naruto very early on. And because of this, whenever he does accomplish things, it's always just expected of him. When he fails hard, but when he succeeds, the world all wants a piece of that. And because of this, he develops a god complex. And because Hiruzen actually cares about Naruto, he doesn't allow Danzo to spread the truth about Naruto's, being the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. So this time around, he doesn't have to deal with the prejudice of the Hidden Leaf villagers, and he doesn't even have to deal with the feeling of being alone as a kid. Instead, he's going to simply have to deal with a little bit of a god complex and everybody expecting so much of him. A little bit of an interesting turn of events from what our original Naruto would have in this story, but that's what makes this thing interesting. That's what's going to change everything. That said, Naruto during his early years of life would spend most of his time training and training and training, with all he ever would hear would be comparisons between himself and his father. And because of this, Naruto would have a huge list of things that he needs to accomplish, and he would feel overwhelmed by, but he would never show it, and he would always try over and over again to compete with his father or do something similar to what he would have done. Finally, this would eventually stop inside of his household when he finally makes his way towards the academy. But because he grew up the way that he did, he develops a god complex like stated earlier, and so when he ends up seeing another kid around his age, his height, and his build, seeing him getting a lot of gratitude and him getting a lot of praise, this would almost kind of threaten Naruto, because the way that he sees it, he's always been the top dog, and now jumping into an area where he isn't, he feels very, very threatened, feeling a very, very strong sense of disdain for Sasuke. He would essentially end up creating a mind game rivalry that wouldn't exactly bear fruits until months later, after a sparring session, which Naruto would end up inevitably defeating Sasuke in. And the way that this would go down is essentially it would be a normal day at school with Iruka pretty much telling them to fight. This would be a fight very, very similar to the one that we would get between Obito and Kakashi with their flashback in the 4th Great Shinobi World War, and inevitably Naruto would be coming out as the winner, with him showing that even though Sasuke is an Uchiha and would also be born with, a lot of potential, Naruto, being the son of the 4th Hokage, just naturally has more. And because of this, a lot of people are already liking him and treating him as though he is everything, as though he is God, as though he is the best kid of his age. Everybody's expecting so much of him. So Naruto crushing Sasuke would kind of solidify his points of views of him thinking that people who are strong stand at the top and those who are weak, they stay beneath him, engraving inside of him this mentality of either you win or you lose, and there is no second or third place, there's only the top. Eventually, he would continue displaying his skills and overall become the best when it comes to physical hand-to-hand combat, and even molding chakra abilities that Sasuke in the original would actually be very skilled at. Also, even shuriken and kunai throwing, he would even be on par with Sasuke's level of finesse with that. He would study extremely hard for hours and hours to remain smarter than Sasuke, but even with the countless hours that he puts into his studies, he would always seem to be bypassed by Sasuke, with him beating him by 10 or 5 points every single time. He always seemed to beat him no matter what he did, because Naruto academically is just not going to be half as smart as Sasuke, so he has to work even harder to even keep up with him. But a quote from Naruto that we've all heard consistently over and over is that the hard worker will always surpass those with natural talents, and hard workers with natural talent will always surpass basic hard workers. This would lead Sasuke and Naruto to grow up with a mutual disdain for each other, and by the time that Sasuke's family would all be massacred by Itachi and Obito, things would slightly begin to change between their dynamic on their early ages. Sasuke stops caring about Naruto and just starts caring more about his revenge. Naruto begins changing his outlook on Sasuke and kind of feeling sorry for him, but never inevitably telling him, anything, never speaking to Sasuke, never kind of wanting to stick that hand out because he doesn't understand him. Naruto, even though he grew up without a father or mother, grew up with the care of Hiruzen and many maids that he would have around himself for his early upbringing. Naruto would notice this, and so he decides to just take the chance to get even more popular, do cooler things, show off more, and gloat that he's the best. With this, he ends up getting the attention of many girls and would always be told how great he is, with a sly remark of everybody always saying that it's always expected of him. He would grow up knowing that he needs to do better, but that he's being compared to Minato, a genius by default. So Naruto, with that said, would have to work 10 times as hard to keep up, because he has his chakra restricted, and he even has to work on his Kekkie Genkai, which he's not already talented in. And not to mention, he's not aware of the fact that his father used a jutsu to achieve those levels of insane speed that he had. He's not aware of the teleportation jutsu and thinks that his father was just that fast just generally, because the people who tell him stories about him hype him up way more than he even was, even though, you know, Minato is a phenomenal shinobi. He is not as great as everybody seems to be hyping him up to Naruto. And so Naruto sees his father as this unachievable mountain that he has to climb to eventually overcome. But because he's not as naturally smart as his father, he has to try even harder than that to live up to the hype. Eventually, as years pass, Naruto becomes a skilled shinobi who believes he can do it all and needs nobody else on the surface. He would gloat about his superiority to others and push those who are weak underneath himself, telling them over and over that they're weak and that they'll never become stronger, bullying people along the lines of Kiba and other random people who are simply there to fill up your screen. That said, with this comes people liking him, but in a very, very false way, because people would generally now only start paying attention to him because they're scared of him, and he would end up getting a bunch of suck-ups with nobody to actually call him out on anything, until eventually he would meet Kakashi Sensei, his new instructor, and this would actually come hard to him. But before we get to that, we have to cover the introductions, and from here, you might probably be wondering, what are Naruto's goals exactly? Well, it's essentially to become stronger than his father and become Hokage, to demand respect from others. Everyone else's goals would pretty much stay the same, but when Naruto explains what his ambitions and goals are to Kakashi would be quite shocked at the fact that he wants to go past his father, having a small smirk on his face and thinking back to the days of Minato, thinking that he did actually inherit his eyes, and his hair color is a little different from Minato, but he does definitely resemble him a bit. Naruto essentially looks like a bit of a mixture between Bakugo and Naruto himself, with the obvious whiskers that he has on his face and his eyes being a little bit more along the dirty blonde color that would actually give Bakugo a bit of like just noticeability to what he actually looks like. Eventually though, after the introductions would be over, we would get the bell test arrival the next day, and Naruto, just like he's told by Kakashi, would not eat anything, committing his very first big mistake for what he's about to have to do with the team and what's about to happen to him, sadly. And that is the bell test and the realization that he probably should have ate something. The day would eventually arrive and we would simply zoom in on a scene with Naruto walking down there in a bit of a very ready mood. Like he's just walking up there and he's ready to show off that he's just as strong as ever and that he doesn't need the help of anybody to pass this test to officially become a Genin. This would be one of the major downfalls that Naruto would end up experiencing during this test though, and this is something that he's going to be having to majorly learn the hard way. Naruto ends up going into the test with an open mind, thinking that he's going to be defeating everybody and that everything's just going to come to him naturally. Of course, being told that he's the best definitely wouldn't hurt that, and so when Kakashi finally ends up arriving 3 hours later, Naruto would blow a fuse, exclaiming to Kakashi that why is he late, that he's not supposed to be doing things like this, and that he should be way more responsible for the team that he's going to be commanding for the next couple of years. Kakashi comes up with some lame excuse saying that he got lost on the path of life, and Naruto would scoff at the prospect of this, as Kakashi simply takes out his book and then eventually begins to explain the rules of the bell test to everybody. They would all eventually understand what this all entails, and Naruto, hearing that he's pretty much going to just have to rip belts from Kakashi, would immediately get excited at the prospect of showing off how strong he is, finally getting the chance of facing off against one of the high-ranking Jonins in the village, Kakashi Hatake, the copycat ninja. And so the battle would begin. Immediately, Sasuke and Sakura would go hide up in the bushes, but Naruto would take a different approach. Naruto was not worried about going off and focusing on stealth or anything like that. Immediately, Naruto would take 3 shurikens out and throw them in the direction of Kakashi, who he'd simply dodge, with him still reading the book, and Naruto saying, "Okay, so you're pretty fast. How about you dodge this?" He weaves hand signs very rapidly and uses an explosion release to essentially hold both hands out and just shoot a massive explosion at the direction of Kakashi, who all he simply has to do is use the substitution jutsu to leave a charred piece of wood behind in its wake, and Kakashi standing right behind Naruto, with him tapping him on his back, with Naruto jumping back and then throwing a kunai at the direction of Kakashi, which, using his enhanced speed and abilities, would catch with one finger and immediately throw it right back at Naruto, with him explaining that he does definitely need a little bit more patience when it comes to how his fighting style is. But Naruto has a bunch of clones appear out of nowhere using the multi-shadow clone jutsu, which Hiruzen would have definitely taught him due to his very massively high chakra reserves that he does end up having. So Naruto would have about 10 clones rush at the direction of Kakashi, and Kakashi would actually end up feeling this, because could you imagine how strong 10 clones all shooting explosions at you would be? It's definitely going to be kind of a scary experience. But Kakashi, using his overall higher speed than Naruto, would inevitably end up dispelling many of the shadow clones, with him only getting minor injuries from this attack that Naruto just dished out. Eventually, though, Naruto would continue creating more and more shadow clones, and he would end up creating the strategy of using these shadow clones to dispel of, the shadows and the smoke rising up into the air to essentially try to blind Kakashi. So what essentially ends up happening is Naruto has a ton more shadow clones appear, and he pretty much ends up dispelling them all in one go, lunging up into the air with his explosion Kekkie Genkai, and then looking down at Kakashi as he uses a howitzer impact that would cause a massive amount of damage onto the land, with Kakashi simply having to use the substitution with Kakashi simply having to use a mud wall jutsu to dodge the impact of the blow, and Kakashi inevitably rushing in at the direction of Naruto, throwing a kick at him, which Naruto would rapidly dodge, and then go underneath and try to hit Kakashi with an uppercut, which Kakashi would parry, grab his kunai out from his pouch, and cut Naruto on the cheek, pushing him back with one leg as Naruto rolls onto the ground, and Sasuke finally makes his presence known, jumping in with a fire style fireball jutsu as he tries to catch Kakashi off guard, who currently was distracted with the battle between Naruto. Sakura, watching up upon the bushes, would think to herself what she should do, whether she should jump in and help her Sasuke-kun, or she should stay up here in order to continue trying to keep up her facade of safetyness, of her feeling like she is just fine up there, which she's not, because Kakashi already knows where she is. But this is something that definitely crosses her mind. Naruto, seeing Sasuke come in and actually catch Kakashi off guard slightly, would grit his teeth, thinking to himself that he doesn't need the help of anybody, rushing back in and immediately opting to scream at Sasuke, telling him to get lost, that Naruto's never needed the help of anybody and he's not going to start needing help now. Sasuke would wonder what Naruto's problem is, and he would tell Naruto to calm down, that they both might as well try their best to catch him off guard. Eventually, Naruto ends up continuing to yell at Sasuke to get lost, and this would lead Naruto and Sasuke to both bicker with each other more than they're fighting off against Kakashi, leading Kakashi to be able to easily overwhelm the two and basically have it so that he would be able to pretty much knock them both down onto the ground, until Naruto and Sasuke look at each other and both understand that they're not going to be getting anywhere by themselves. Naruto defeatedly ends up accepting Sasuke's offer, and they both lunge in at the direction of Kakashi, opting to use their best jutsus in one go. Naruto uses an AP shot to shoot it right at the direction of Kakashi, which would actually end up nicking him. And Sasuke himself would end up whipping out another fire-style fireball jutsu, which would shoot at the direction of Kakashi. With Kakashi being shocked at how well both these boys work together, they would eventually lunge at Kakashi's shadow clone, which he would leave behind, and rush in, attacking it, making the shadow clone itself poof out of existence. With Kakashi being off in the distance reading his Make Up Paradise series book, and him essentially knocking Sakura out using a very, very simple genjutsu. With this, Naruto and Sasuke would both pretty much just be sitting there on the back foot wondering what just happened as Kakashi comes in and inevitably ends up cleaning up the group, making things look easy, making everything look as if it took practically no effort. And so what we end up pretty much getting is a scene where Sasuke and both Naruto are the ones who are actually trapped and are forced to not actually eat any food, with Kakashi not telling them yet about the true nature of this event or even scolding Naruto and Sasuke on their initial bad teamwork. He would, however, be thinking that the way that those two worked together when they had to was not inevitably, but definitely very impressive. And it's something that did end up showing him that they have potential to maybe work together someday. But as things stand, they're not going to be getting too far in the ninja world if he accepts them as his Genin squad. And so Sakura would be the only one who actually has food in her disposal. And so we end up getting the same scene with Sakura feeding Sasuke, but because Naruto's stomach would grumble and she doesn't hate Naruto, she would definitely be willing to give him a bit of food and actually lead Kakashi to appearing out of nowhere and pretty much telling them both that they pass, as he inevitably ends up revealing the true nature of the bell test and telling them that this was a very common deception tactic used simply to try to see what they would do if they have to work together, explaining to the team that in the ninja world, those who go on their missions by themselves almost never end up succeeding, and that everybody, including himself, needs partners, needs help along the way to becoming stronger. Looking at Naruto, as Naruto looks away, noticing that he failed the bell test if it wasn't for the fact that Sakura actually opted to give them food. Naruto finally ends up coming to terms with the fact that he failed for pretty much one of the first times in his life and was unable to even do the most basic thing, or even realize that this whole time he was being tricked by Kakashi, that this whole time he wasn't even opting to what the true nature of this exam was, and instead let his emotions overwhelm him and get the better of him in this one instance. Naruto realizes that he has a little bit more to grow, and by a little bit I mean a monumental amount, but he would tell himself that it's just a bad step in the road and that eventually he'll get there. And with this would come Team 7 eventually being formed, and Team 7's eventual 2 weeks worth of D-rank missions, which would essentially just consist of capturing cats, walking old ladies down the street, and getting people's groceries back to them. Eventually, we would end up having the situation where Hiruzen would end up paying the team, and Naruto would speak up and politely this time around ask Hiruzen for a higher ranked mission, or at least as polite as Naruto could possibly muster, knowing that this has been his caretaker for the past couple years of his life. So Naruto would definitely show respect to Hiruzen, knowing just how powerful he is, because Naruto, as I said before, he respects power. So if Hiruzen was just this powerless nobody, he would definitely not be speaking to him with this level of respect. But because Hiruzen is who he is, Naruto respects him just enough to ask Hiruzen in a very mediocre like polite fashion to pretty much have an upgraded mission, not exactly disrespecting him by calling him an old man, but by saying to essentially just give him a better mission. Hiruzen, after hearing this from Naruto, ends up opting to actually agree and says that they actually should get a better ranked mission, seeing as, they've been doing well so far, and asking Kakashi if he believes the team to be ready. Kakashi nods his head, and so we then have the bridge builder Tazuna enter the room, as Tazuna would immediately look at the direction of all the team and inevitably end up getting his do you guys know where you look at people and you immediately just assume what they're like? That's pretty much what Tazuna ends up getting. Eventually, he ends up spouting insults at the team because he is in a drunken state at the moment, and the very next day, Team 7 would meet Tazuna by the bridge. When they're there, Kakashi would end up explaining to them to be on their guard during the entire mission, with Naruto never dropping it even for a slight moment. Eventually, though, what would end up happening is we would get the eventual encounter between the Demon Brothers, and Naruto, having much more power than he would in the original and much more experience with dealing with situations like this, would actually be able to do something this time around, not sitting there in fear waiting for Sasuke to actually save him. And so we wouldn't end up getting the iconic "you scared? Scaredy cat" scene between Sasuke and Naruto, with Sasuke and Naruto both actually performing very, very well, and Naruto immediately shooting an explosion at the direction of one of the Demon Brothers, with Sasuke using a leg sweep to essentially drop another one of the Demon Brothers onto the ground and making them lose breath. Kakashi eventually ends up revealing that he never truly died, and so would end up pretty much interrogating both Demon Brothers, getting as much information as he possibly can out of them. Along the way back towards the village hidden in the mist or whatever, we would end up pretty much having Kakashi question Tazuna on the mission that is taking him back to the land of the waves. And Tazuna ends up inevitably telling Kakashi the true nature of the mission that they just embarked on. That it's not just going to be bandits, but that a very, very powerful gangster with a lot of influence is actually trying his best to kill him. Because the bridge that he's building could potentially take his country out of poverty, and that, you know, like what he's doing is like for a good cause. Like he didn't have the funds to pretty much end up getting the type of mission that he wanted, and he would actually apologize for having to try to do this in such a pretty much cowardly fashion and just unhonest way. But he would, being Tazuna, try to guilt trip the team into pretty much taking him all the way. And because Naruto and Sasuke both just handle the Demon Brothers effortlessly, Kakashi would think that maybe the team does have a good chance of proceeding. So he ends up asking the team, and all of them end up inevitably accepting to continue going on with the mission. Kakashi would be quite proud with the team, and so he ends up deciding that they're going to continue with the mission. Eventually, a couple of hours would pass and they would find themselves getting closer and closer to thicker and thicker mist. Eventually, Naruto, in a panic, throws a kunai at a white snow bunny, and because of the nature of the bunny, everybody ends up laughing at him, with Sakura saying that is he dumb, that he almost killed that poor innocent creature. But Kakashi would be the only person who realizes that that kind of animal is not supposed to be there. This would cue Kakashi to look at his team and say, "Everybody get down!" As suddenly, we have Zabuza appear out of nowhere, with him landing on top of his sword on top of a post, revealing himself to be Zabuza Momoichi, one of the members of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist. And he would then end up encountering and pretty much pressing Kakashi, saying, "Kakashi Hatake, if it isn't a surprise to see you here," with him saying to hand over the bridge builder and nobody has to lose their life, with Kakashi stating that Zabuza knows that he's not going to just be able to just hand him over like that, with Zabuza stating that that's a shame, seeing as he didn't want to have to resort to means like this. And so Zabuza ends up pretty much grabbing a sword from his back and rushing at the direction of Kakashi. We, from this point forward, would have the same battle encounter between Kakashi versus Zabuza as we do in the original, and because of this, we would have Sasuke and Naruto being forced to have to save Kakashi. But because Naruto has these strange abilities that he didn't have in the original, we would actually be able to have Naruto display one of them to actually end up saving Kakashi. Naruto ends up creating a bunch of shadow clones, and so they would lunge up into the air in a spot where Zabuza can't exactly reach, with Sasuke pretty much rushing in at the direction of the shadow clones. So think about it like this. Zabuza's holding Kakashi hostage in the water, and Naruto creates about 20 shadow clones which would lunge into the air and, using the explosion Kekkie Genkai ability, fly up towards the sky, rushing towards the direction of Zabuza, with Sasuke remaining on the ground and rushing on the dry land that he has to lunge at the direction of some of the clones that Zabuza would have created, which would be 6 to be exact, to try to take out the rest of the team. Kakashi at this point would be begging Team 7 to essentially run away, but Team 7 ain't no coward. onwards. And so they end up pretty much working as a team, with Naruto's shadow clones up into the air, rushing at the direction of Zabuza, and Sasuke actually taking out one of the shadow clones that Zabuza would leave behind. It would be a very high difficult thing to do for Sasuke, but he would manage it nonetheless. And Naruto would shoot AP shots from the sky to end up taking out the rest of the other 5 shadow clones that Zabuza would use, or in this instant, water clones. And due to the nature of this, the rest of the clones that would be up in the sky, which would be 3 since Zabuza and his clones would have used kunais to destroy them up into the air and make them poof, we would have Naruto and Sasuke both simultaneously, with one of them throwing a demon wind shuriken and Naruto shooting AP shots from the sky, causing him to have to actually let go of Kakashi, leading to their same battle that we would get in canon between Kakashi and Zabuza, with him appearing to actually peek into the future and copy all of Zabuza's moves, which would lead into the eventual encounter between Haku and Zabuza saving them, and Haku essentially making himself be present in the situation. And from here, we would end up getting Naruto actually saying something about Haku when, Haku ends up pretty much trying to run away with the body. Because Naruto, after years and years of studying, would actually know that most tracking ninjas dispose of the bodies on the spot. They don't go away or take the bodies to another location to do this. They get rid of the bodies and the secrets that they carry all in one motion. So Naruto ends up asking this question, with Kakashi being on high guard because he didn't expect Naruto to do this. But because of this, Haku would end up pretty much taking out one of her Senbon needles, and then essentially looking towards the direction of Naruto and saying that he's asking too many questions. And Haku, with a drop of sweat falling from his forehead, would grab Zabuza and throw multiple kunais at Naruto, which would cause Naruto to have to stay back and Haku to grab the body of Zabuza and inevitably end up retreating from that situation, going off to heal the wounds that Zabuza got from the battle between himself and Kakashi. And Naruto saying that he's sorry that they ended up getting away, that if he was just a bit faster, he could have potentially stopped them. But at this moment, Kakashi would end up passing out from fatigue, and they would be forced to take him back to Tazuna's house, where they inevitably end up meeting Inari, Tsunade, and even the rest of the other villagers that would be in the land of the waves. They end up encountering poverty like never before, and Naruto generally does feel bad for the people of this town. So with the little money that he does have, he ends up giving it to a bunch of poor kids who would use it to buy themselves some food, and seeing the state of this place would actually end up motivating Naruto to want to actually save this place. But when Inari comes into the picture and begins to spout nonsense about how they're only here to die, Naruto would be extremely offended, because basically for one of the first times in his life, somebody who doesn't know who Naruto is would be looking down on him. Instead of praising him and saying that he's gonna of course complete the mission, somebody was finally saying, "You're gonna die, like you have no hope of completing it." And Naruto, in a very, very angry fashion, would scream back at Inari, saying that he's the son of a Kage, that he can do anything, and that he will save this village from poverty, just to shut that little runt up. With Inari being like, "You don't know what you're talking about," and taking his food upstairs, inevitably finding himself crying in the bathroom. With Naruto angrily walking out of the building and making his way into the forest to train, punching a hard tree 1,000 times over, and shooting explosions at another tree multiple times on end, until eventually it feels as if his arms are about to fall off, and Naruto finally collapses from fatigue, waking up the next day only to encounter Haku in the forest. This would lead to the same interaction that he would have had in canon, and Naruto being opened up to the ideology of protecting others as a means of getting powerful. Naruto would have never thought about this before, but with Haku telling him that protecting others is a much better way of finding strength, Naruto would think about this, and so he kind of has this realization that maybe Haku might be onto something. But because Haku's point of view hasn't been proved, Naruto has no way of solidifying whether Haku was telling the truth or lying. And so, Naruto continues living on with his ideology and eventually training with Kakashi when he inevitably wakes up in 2 weeks. A couple more days pass and Naruto enters the house after another training session. Kakashi goes on to teach them about tree walking, and since Naruto already knows this because of Hiruzen, he just watches and gets angry on the inside slightly while he watches Sakura learn the tree walking method way faster than he did. He wonders to himself why it is that somebody like her was able to learn that way faster than him. It took him at least 2 days to learn it, 1 day and 1 night exactly, and it was almost impossible for Naruto to even get it done unless it was for the extra assistance that he got from Hiruzen himself. He just stays silent and trains on his own, working on his wind style jutsu, seeing as it is his specialty. And so the days would pass until eventually the day of the bridge attack would come. And Naruto the day before would have actually ended up training extra hard, fighting his clones over and over and over, until eventually he ends up passing out outside from exhaustion, leading to all of his clones just dispersing and a bunch of smoke going off into the air. Eventually though, he would be taken inside by Kakashi, who was shocked at how many clones Naruto could muster, and so he lets Naruto sleep the entire day, leading him to actually be sleeping in when the team would end up going off to the bridge to pretty much watch over Tazuna. This is when Naruto would end up waking up to the sound of something breaking outside. Naruto hears this and immediately puts his clothes on as fast as he possibly can, only to step outside and notice that Inari and his mother are both being treated not exactly too kindly by some of Gato's men. As soon as Naruto sees this, he would realize that the thugs are instantly trying to attack the mother and son of Inari, and they would grab onto Tsunade, and he would try to defend her, and by he I mean Inari, but he can't since he's a little kid. So Naruto would step in the way and says, "I'll handle it," to Inari. Slowly. He then goes on to blitz one of them who had a blade to Tsunade's throat, as he blasts an explosion onto his face and sends him flying, rushing at the other with a spin kick with explosions behind it to propel the force and send them both flying. He would tell Inari to keep her safe, and he would leave a shadow clone behind who would stay with them long enough to protect them. Eventually though, Naruto would meet up with Team 7 and see Sasuke inside of the ice jutsu, with Haku using, the same thing that she would be using in canon, as, Naruto would be outside and he would think, I'll just blow it up, right? He immediately goes on to use a basic explosion trying to shatter the ice, but it just wouldn't work. And so Naruto would be confused by this, so he decides that whatever, he'll just use his most powerful explosion. As he does so using a howitzer impact, charging it up massively, right? And eventually it would shoot at the ice crystal, but it would just crack, and immediately it would regenerate itself, leading to Naruto's smile fading as he realizes that he can't break this ice. He doesn't have a single jutsu more powerful than the one he just used, as he realizes that he just failed Sasuke, and he has to literally watch him get hit with a bunch of Senbon needles as Sasuke's trying to dodge with the Sharingan activated, as he just decides to hell with that, and he needs to go help him. He rushes in and begins to try to help Sasuke overcome Haku, but he just speeds up more and more, and he throws more and more Senbon at the direction of both of them, making it hard for Naruto to keep up. He would realize very quickly that they are pretty much effed no matter what they do, and so he decides to ask Sasuke if he has a plan. And well, he actually doesn't. So eventually Naruto and Sasuke would begin getting more and more overwhelmed, leading Haku to throw a massive amount of Senbons at Naruto, as he pretty much has to watch as Sasuke sacrifices himself for his sake. And Naruto sees this all play out in slow motion. Like, Naruto at this moment was getting overwhelmed and his breathing was starting to get harder. It was almost as if his vision became blurry slightly. He was almost getting ready to tap out. But once this was all about to happen, Haku would throw a plethora of Senbon at the direction of Naruto, which Sasuke would quickly push Naruto out of the way of and tank the whole thing. Like, all the Senbon pierce into Sasuke and he would fall onto the ground, as Naruto lets out softly, "Why?" as he looks down at Sasuke and screams, "Why? Why?" at Sasuke, but nothing. And Naruto sees his vision slightly begin to change as his eyes pretty much go blood red, and he looks at Haku dead in the eyes as he roars loudly in a cry of pain and rage and says, "I'll kill you." He then blitzes at Haku behind as an ice mirror, right? Like, who's inside of a ice mirror.
and he punches straight at Haku, who would be inside of the ice mirror, not fast enough to jump from to another one, as he literally shatters the mirror and Haku goes flying out of it, landing on the ground as Naruto lands on top of Haku, punches him in the stomach one time, and then charges a powerful, massive punch that he would be just about to send down onto his face, as Haku's mask just cracks from the initial punch to the face and it would shatter on the ground, leading Naruto to see Haku on the ground with a sad look on his face. As Naruto looks at the direction of Haku as he stops his next punch and grits his teeth and clutches his fist tightly, so much to the point where it begins to drip blood, and in rage would ask Haku why he had to be the one behind the mask, and Haku just coldly tells him to do it. Naruto closes his eyes and is about to, but then suddenly Haku blitzes out of the way and in the way of Kakashi's Chidori, saving the life of Zabuza. As Naruto has to watch as, Haku dies to Kakashi's hand. Naruto would remain in this anger state as Gato's men would arrive and would see Gato literally kick at the body of Haku. Without hesitation, Naruto feels such rage overcome him as he would rush in the direction of Gato and his men, shooting an explosion so powerful that all of Gato's men would just get flung into the water, and they all are unable to do anything as Naruto just straight blitzes at Gato, and he shoots an explosion straight into his an explosion punch straight into the stomach of Gato, shooting another explosion to widen the gap that he would have shot into Gato himself. And Gato just stares down at his stomach and once at Naruto before he falls onto his knees as Naruto just says, "Go to hell," and then blows his body into the ocean, leading Gato to pretty much just begin floating up in the seas, and all of Gato's men would immediately try to swim away as fast as they can. They're all trying to escape the inevitable situation that they think is about to happen, and so Gato dies right there in front of Zabuza, as Naruto then proceeds to stare back at the direction of himself, and by that I mean Zabuza, and he would pretty much begin insulting him for letting anybody whatsoever disrespect his allies like that, as he would then go on to pretty much tell him his iconic Naruto talk no jutsu that he would use in the anime, but in a little bit of a different way because of how his personality would have changed in this what if. And after this, Zabuza would shed a tear as he would then say the iconic line, "Your words cut deeper than any blade," as Haku then buries Zabuza then buries Haku properly, as he then goes off to who knows where. But Team 7 inevitably after this would go on to complete the mission, with the bridge still being named the Great Naruto Bridge. They then make their way back home as they receive their payment for the mission, and they go off to get some ramen via Sakura's recommendation. It would be kind of cool, and Naruto and Sasuke would both begrudgingly kind of accept wanting to look cool as they do so, as, there would be a little bit of an aura of awkward silence between all of them, just because of what would have happened in the previous mission. A bit of awkward tension in the air because of, Sasuke's sacrifice, and, in between the meal that they would all be having in the middle of, this blatant just awkwardness, Naruto would let out, "Hey, Sasuke, thanks." As, Sasuke looks at him and says, "What was that, Naruto?" And Naruto says, "Damn it. Thanks, Sasuke, for saving me back there." Sasuke looks at Naruto with a mischievous smile and says, "Anytime, loser." As suddenly, Naruto looks at him and says he'll never need saving again, and he'll pay him back someday. As Sasuke says, "Whatever, loser." And the aura of awkward tension just immediately dissipates. As from here, they go on to have a pretty decent lunch. They have a couple of conversations, and eventually they would all pretty much get done with that, as Naruto would offer to pay, and Sakura's like, "Thanks." And from here, they begin to all essentially begin walking away, and it's at this moment that they would notice the Sand siblings, as Naruto would wonder what exactly Sand Shinobi are doing there. They'll get closer and closer as Sasuke would yell out, "Hey, what's your business in the Leaf Village?" As Tamari turns back around only to see Sasuke and say,
don't you know about the Chunin exams? As she says, it's only natural that he should know about it, seeing as, it's going to be held in this village. As Gaara would stare daggers at Naruto and Sasuke's direction, with Sasuke not really saying anything, but Naruto eventually screaming, "Hey, you ginger hair duck!" Yeah, I said duck. I'm not trying to get hit with that yellow sign on my video. I'm trying to make money. Anyways, though, why are you staring at me like that? What, you see something you like or something? Because I don't roll that way. As Gaara doesn't show any emotion and says, "Let's leave," to the Sand siblings, as they immediately do, and following this, Naruto turns to Sasuke as he says that guy was dangerous with a smile on his face, thinking that he hopes he can fight him soon. From here, Sasuke says, "Damn right about that, Naruto." As from here, Sakura looks at the direction of both of her teammates and she's like, "What was dangerous about him? He was just looking at you weird." And Naruto says, "Someday you'll understand what I mean. There's just some people in this world that have this aura around them of just death and power. And that guy, he was one of them." They go over to find Kakashi and ask about the Chunin exams, and once they do so, they would eventually be informed about what the Chunin exams are, and eventually each and every single member of Team 7 eventually agrees to go on the Chunin exams thing, right? Eventually after this, they would all have their test to see if they actually would even qualify for the Chunin exams. And of course, Team 7 would entirely pass with flying colors. I mean, there's no real reason for me to hold them back. And seeing as they would have all passed in the original, there's no reason for them not to this time. So they all end up passing this little portion of the, the Chunin exams pre-trials, and eventually the day would roll around where they would all have to meet up. But before that would happen, Naruto would have spent the last week essentially training as hard as he possibly could have, using his clones to essentially fight himself and figure out what weaknesses he has by asking Kakashi about them. He cleans up anything that he thinks could be considered a little bit of a weakness, and his taijutsu skills would be refined just a little bit more, with his speed going up and his explosion strength rising ever more than it would be the day before this. And eventually, the day would come when all of them meet up together and they eventually walk inside of the tower. When they do, Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke would all immediately notice the strange genjutsu, dispelling it easily by performing one hand sign, as suddenly they notice that a strange team with a dude with strange eyes, some girl that looks like a yes man, and some guy with bushy eyebrows with the worst haircut of all time walks up to them. Immediately, Lee starts spinning some game at Sakura, and this bro has negative riz. So, of course, Sakura's like, "Ew, no, get away from me." And Lee from here pretty much goes down to the ground. It's like, "My pride." But from here, he looks at Sasuke and he's like, "Your name is Sasuke Uchiha. I've heard about your strength, and I wish to fight you." As he looks at Naruto and says, "You as well, Rookie of the Year Naruto. But first, I would like to warm up with your teammate." Naruto looks at him and says, "You're not going to be fighting me. I'm not going to be fighting you outside of the Chunin exams. If you think I'm going to waste my energy with you, good luck. You can keep dreaming." But, Sasuke looks at Naruto and he thinks about that. But he sees this guy and just thinks that this is going to be one of his chances to just prove how strong he is. And thus, Sasuke goes on to fight against Rock Lee. But because Sasuke still isn't anywhere close to Lee's level, Lee would absolutely curb stomp Sasuke into the ground until, obviously, Might Guy arrives, right? And once Might Guy arrives, he's like, "Lee, what are you doing?" Right? Like, he's all like, "What are you doing, Lee?" Right? And Lee's like, "Guy sensei," you know what I mean? Like, they're all having this little bromance moment as Naruto would just be watching as the weird little Naruto music would play, and it would be like, you guys know which one I'm talking about. The one that Jiraiya has playing every single time that he peeps on the girls in Naruto Part 1. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, regardless of this fact, Naruto following this just begins to pick up Sasuke and say that he could have warned him about how strong that guy was, not to judge an opponent by their appearance. And Sasuke's like, "Whatever, loser." As from here, Naruto looks at Sasuke with a smirk and says, "I didn't lose to that bushy-browed idiot, you did." Naruto smiles and Sasuke grits his teeth as they make their way towards the direction of the Rookie 12, and they would all just have a conversation until Kabuto interrupts everything, and eventually they all make their way towards the testing room. Now, this is when they would have the written portion of the exam, and because Naruto's not a complete idiot in this version and he actually spends countless hours studying, I'm gonna be saying that he's able to fill in like 3 or 4 questions, but nothing too crazy, just because like even Sasuke like in the test was like, "I have no idea what's going on, right? So Naruto ends up figuring out that, yeah, the point of this test is definitely cheat. So they all end up using their abilities to cheat, with Naruto using a sentry ability, just watching the way that people's pencils move, and even pretty much, I don't really know what Naruto could do to cheat, but he would use something, right? And eventually he would pretty much end up getting the answers he needs. And once the proctor ends up pretty much telling them all about, how, there's the final question, Naruto does not actually give some speech that he would in the original. Instead, he says that they could all leave right now because none of them are going to win with him there, saying that he's going to come out of Chunin this year and nobody's going to be able to stop him. All of them would look daggers at Naruto as he says, "I'm the son of the 4th Hokage. Believe it." And all of them just begin to kind of have their strange looks go away slightly as, all of them remain quiet, and a bunch of people begin getting up and, leaving the area, not wanting to never be able to take the Chunin exams again, with everybody else pretty much going on forward with the Chunin exams and making their way towards the Forest of Death. From here, the events of canon essentially align themselves perfectly with what happens here, and we essentially get the scene between Orochimaru, Naruto, and Anko go clearly as it does in canon. Eventually, we have all of the teams sign the waivers for their potential deaths, and then all of them make their way to the Forest of Death. Immediately upon entering, Naruto and his team would go pretty deep into the forest and eventually end up all making this plan. Naruto would look to Sasuke as he would say that he's going to be the team leader for this one, and Sasuke looks at Naruto with a smile on his face, saying he's glad he acknowledges that, he's better. Naruto says it has nothing to do with that, but more or less the fact that he's got to go take a leak right now. And Sasuke's like, what? And Naruto's like, "I'm going to be the leader when I get back." He runs off, and from here, he pretty much goes off to another, tree, and, he starts doing his thing, starts doing his business. Immediately after this, he pretty much is done, and, he's about ready to get his things and make his way back to the team, when suddenly a gigantic snake would pretty much make its way forward towards Naruto. Naruto immediately seeing this snake would be like, "Oh, hell no." And from here, Naruto essentially proceeds to jump over the snake and shoot an AP shot beam straight at the direction of the snake's brain. Picture it like this. Naruto shoots an explosion up into the air, blasting himself up as the snake, opens his mouth wide and turns back around with its neck, right? But Naruto literally cups his hands together and just screams, "AP shot!" As bam, a gigantic beam of just explosion shoots straight into the skull of the snake, and the snake's brains literally splatter everywhere, leading Naruto to land on the ground and wonder how the hell a snake that large made its way to the Forest of Death. Naruto from here begins to think to himself that could potentially be, no, wait, Orochi. He immediately stops thinking about anything and he prays that that's not the case. Naruto immediately begins blitzing towards the direction of his team at top speeds, making it there in about 20 seconds, with Orochimaru literally in front of the team and Sasuke having just barely escaped from the situation by stabbing himself in the leg with a kunai. Immediately following this, Orochimaru begins to essentially find Sasuke and would be right about to pretty much bite him with a gigantic snake which he would be riding on. Naruto, upon seeing this, would immediately realize that there's no doubt about it. It's Orochimaru. All the adrenaline, the fear, the excitement, the anger flowing through his body would allow Naruto to gain access to the Kyuubi Chakra Cloak's one-tail version, and Naruto would immediately be able to stop the snake straight in its tracks, with Orochimaru looking over Naruto with the snake, saying, "Impressive, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki." With Naruto saying, "Yeah, what of it?" As from here, he jumps back and grabs Sasuke and lunges towards another treetop. As, he looks at Sasuke and says, "Sasuke, we're not facing an ordinary ninja. This ninja is Orochimaru, at the very minimum Kage level. I need you to snap out of it, Sasuke. This is a fight we can't mess around in. He will kill us upon the slightest mistake. So Sasuke, I need your help. I can't do this one alone." Sasuke looks at the direction of Naruto with a hint of fear in his voice, and it shakes a bit as he says, I got you, Naruto." From here, he activates his Sharingan, and Naruto looks towards the direction of Sasuke, as he then turns back towards Orochimaru, who would immediately begin lunging at their direction using a fire style jutsu to burn at the tree branch that they're standing on. Both of them jump from one tree to another, and immediately Naruto blitzes in at Orochimaru with a flurry of taijutsu attacks and explosions. Every single punch he throws would be followed by an explosion, and Orochimaru would be caught off guard, saying, "It's interesting, an explosion, Kekkie Genkai. Your body will be useful as well." As from here, he essentially goes on to try to put the curse mark thing on Naruto, but Naruto dodges out of the way of each and every single one of the attacks until inevitably Orochimaru uses a gigantic snake jutsu that he shoots a bunch of snakes at them. And Sasuke immediately uses a fire style to just completely burn them, right? And Naruto uses a wind style bullet to shoot all the snake skin, and if any of all of them would have lived, then basically what would have happened is essentially Naruto would have been able to just push them all aside and make it so that they're able to survive well, right? But basically what ends up happening is Orochimaru comes out from the flames and the snakes, and his outfit is all just like melting off, and his real face is finally beginning to reveal itself as Naruto screams, "Now Sasuke!" And Sasuke throws a bunch of shuriken, which would multiply and would be covered with explosive tags that would immediately go off in an explosion around Orochimaru. But immediately it would be revealed that Orochimaru simply substituted himself and would now be right behind Sasuke. He would grip him by both of his shoulders, with Sasuke tensing up slightly, not being able to react, and Orochimaru immediately bites down onto Sasuke's neck, leading Sasuke to fall onto the ground straight from the tree branches and hit the ground with a loud thud. Immediately, Orochimaru would bury himself in between the tree branch and go into the tree, as Naruto would simply have to bear witness to how Sasuke got completely taken out by Orochimaru, and Naruto could not do a single thing about it. He didn't need saving, but he didn't win. And Naruto would punch at the ground, screaming, "Damn it!" as he then lunges towards Sasuke's direction and screams, "Sakura! Carry Sasuke, we gotta go find a better area now." Sakura's like, right, Naruto. And from here, Naruto and Sakura would make their way towards the cave, the same one that Sakura would have taken care of Naruto and Sasuke herself in the original. Naruto from here goes on to look at her and tell her that there's only one way to fix this, to essentially just heal him using a couple of cold cloths and basically try to make it so that he can survive the night. Eventually, a couple of hours would pass and Sasuke would finally get over the fever. He would then finally be able to rest safely, and Sakura would be watching over Naruto and Sasuke as Naruto would sleep. Suddenly, around this portion in time, we would have the introduction of the sound genin arriving, and when they do, Naruto would immediately be alerted by Sakura, as he would immediately wake up and look at the direction of the sound village ninjas, right? And all of them would immediately pretty much just they would all take notice of the fact that they're definitely hiding there, right? They sense the chakra signatures, and Sakura's not talented enough to even put up some sort of genjutsu barrier to try to help them not be captured. But because of this, Naruto would immediately step out, and all three of the Sand Squad members would appear in front of him, telling him that they're here for Sasuke, and that's it. That if he doesn't get out of the way, he'll die as well. And Naruto likes the sound of that. "Is that a challenge, huh?" He cracks his neck, and immediately his knuckles following afterwards and says, "Try it." As Naruto, in just such badass fashion, just looks forward at all three of them, and Sakura standing behind him with a kunai in her hand. Rock Lee, immediately upon noticing that Naruto is pretty much gonna fight this uneven battle, lunges in the way and is like, "I will help you, Sakura." And Naruto looks at Lee and he's like, "So, you here to help? Or are you here for the scroll?" And Lee is like, "I am not dishonorable. I will help you. This is an uneven battle." Immediately Naruto looks at him and says, "Guess we'll be allies for now." And immediately Ebisu would shoot a sound explosion at the direction of Naruto. Naruto would be able to get out of the way barely, using one of his explosions to dodge out of the way to the right side, while Lee immediately runs towards the direction of them and proceeds to use the Hidden Lotus to essentially kick one of them up into the air and immediately try to pretty much pile drive them into the ground. But because one of them was able to actually soften the blow and cushion the ground, he would have ended up taking barely any damage, and Naruto and Lee would both, because Sakura is pretty much useless, end up fighting against each of their matches respectively. Lee this time around, not having to fight 3 people at the same time, I think would actually be very, very much capable of taking out the ninja that was actually able to pretty much hurt his ears in the original, hitting him with a kick so powerful that he would actually break the gauntlet that the man would be using. And eventually he would kick him into a tree, followed by a hidden lotus that would actually land, because Naruto would be distracting the other shinobi who would actually have gotten his arms ripped by Sasuke, right? Now, Naruto would have taken him out rather easily, and it would have been a little bit difficult at first because of the way that he was using his moves and just how unorthodox his attacks and his sound jutsus even were. Naruto's never seen anything like this, but because of his deductive reasoning and the way that he's a lot smarter in this version, plus the fact that he can just blatantly overwhelm people with clones and explosions, would be able to do just that. Create a multitude of clones, 10 to be exact, which would lunge at him from the air and all immediately shoot AP shots at the guy, sending him crashing onto the ground with 4th degree burn marks all over his body, showing that he definitely held back quite a lot, but luckily that dude is still alive. Naruto lands back on the ground and notices that Sakura just cut her hair to free herself from the other shinobi who was attacking her, the woman member of the Sound Squad. Immediately, Naruto blitzes over there, kicks that ninja away, and says, "Get lost unless you want me to kill your teammate." And immediately both of them would just be like, "Look, here's our scroll. Take it. Let her go." And Naruto drops the teammate, and immediately all the Sound Squad people end up retrieving, right? But as soon as this happens, we end up having Sasuke finally wake up from his curse mark state, and Sasuke would have this evil energy pouring out from him, as the first thing that he sees is Rock Lee, and he immediately blitzes towards his direction, with Lee and Sasuke actually both like looking at each other, because Lee is now currently on guard because now Sasuke just attacked him, right? And Sasuke would say, "You beat me before, let's see if you can still do it," as he lushes at the direction of Lee, and Lee would be like, "We are allies right now." You know, he's trying to like say something, but Sasuke's not listening, and Naruto would just be watching this in awe, just thinking, "Damn it, Sasuke, why'd you have to wake up at this moment?" As Lee and him begin fighting, and Rock Lee would look at the direction of Sasuke and just be like, "Damn it, all right, I guess it's now or never." He uses the second gate, and from here, the first gate. He uses the first gate and immediately rushes towards the direction of Sasuke. They begin to slightly be on par with each other, just very slightly, with Sasuke definitely being a lot more powerful. And because Sasuke is a lot more powerful than Lee still, he would be actually overwhelming him, which would lead Lee to inevitably open the second gate. And it's at this moment that Neji would actually end up arriving on standby. But it's here where Naruto gets in the middle of Sasuke and says, "Sasuke, damn it, Lee's one of our allies." As you know, Sasuke looks at the direction of Naruto, Sharingan active with rage flowing throughout his body. As you know, he immediately stands down, right? And Naruto would just say, "Thank you," with Sasuke saying, "I'll let him go for now. I'll see you in the finals, Lee." And from here, Lee ends up retrieving alongside Neji, with Neji staring at Sasuke, wondering how in the world he got so powerful that he would probably be able to rival even himself, with him, just questioning what in the world just happened back there. And Sasuke going back into the cave, grabbing their things and making their way towards the Chunin Tower, where all of them would immediately begin getting ready to essentially just make their way towards it and just get their passing scores. After this, they would end up showing both scrolls and opening them, and it's at this moment that Iruka and Kakashi Sensei would actually pop out of each one respectively. They would end up telling them the details of the test, and following this, about 40 to let's say 3 hours later, Sasuke ends up pretty much having let's say 5 hours later, right? 5 hours later, Sasuke has the curse mark sealed within himself via Kakashi, and the coolest jutsu in the series, because he used blood and he was able to use the trigrams on the ground. It's so sick. But basically, he seals the thing into Sasuke, and then Sasuke would go on to fight the same battle that he would in the original. Naruto's fight against Kiba would change significantly, because it's not the knuckle-headed ninja that we all know and love, and he doesn't win via shitting in Kiba's face, literally. But this time around, he wins due to general skill and just being able to quickly outsmart Kiba. As soon as he sees Kiba use the Fang over Fang jutsu, he realizes realizes that Kiba is literally just a one-trick pony. And so what does Naruto do? Naruto pretty much plays at Kiba's heartstrings and makes him mess up by pretty much cocking more and more trash in him, and pretty much just creating so many clones that would just enrage Kiba. Eventually he uses the Fang over Fang attack so many times that he would end up tiring himself out, and Naruto comes flying in using a howitzer impact that would send Kiba crashing into the wall and send him straight to the medical office. Immediately after the battle would all be said and done, Naruto would have finished the entire thing with no scratches on him, but as soon as the battle would be done, Hinata would pretty much look at the direction of Naruto and be like, "Naruto-kun." Oh my god, I'm never gonna do that again. I'm sorry guys, why do I always do this? But she would basically be like, "Naruto-kun, here," and you know, she gives him the ointment that she gives him in the original. And Naruto's just like, "Thanks, Hinata." From here, Hinata, like, she gets red in the face and Kurenai smiles, knowing that, you know, Hinata has a little baby crush on Naruto or whatever. And by baby, I mean huge. But because of this, Naruto would be able to essentially just smile and, you know, wave Hinata off, telling her that he's grateful for the gift that he was just given by Hinata, right? But following this, we pretty much just have this scene where essentially Naruto is kind of just like vibing, you know what I mean? Like, he's really not doing much and he's just watching the next couple of battles. Rock Lee versus Gaara ends up happening, and inevitably Gaara ends up winning the match, just like it would happen in the original. It would be an incredible sight to see for Naruto, and this would show Naruto that there are people way stronger than him when it comes to taijutsu still, even among his own class ranks. Even though he is the son of the 4th Hokage, and even though he is training way harder than even he would in the original, that still wasn't enough to keep up with somebody like Lee when he's using his 4th gate. And so Naruto decides that over the next little month that he has to train, he's going to be heavily working on his taijutsu. And so we would end up getting a really cool scene where Naruto begins to like just kind of train on his taijutsu for one day. He punches a tree over and over, and you know, he throws kicks, he does push-ups, he does sit-ups, he just basically does weighted close training, just like Lee does, because he saw it worked for him, so it might work for himself as well. And basically eventually he goes over to try to ask Kakashi for training. Kakashi would pretty much end up telling Naruto that he's actually going to have to train Sasuke, and Naruto wishes Sasuke luck, telling him that he can't wait to fight him in the finals. And Sasuke would nod, acknowledging this as well, as inevitably Naruto would be given off to Ebisu Sensei, with Naruto using the sexy jutsu. Actually, not even. I don't think Naruto would even use that this time. I don't think he even would create that jutsu, honestly. But Naruto just uses honestly just uses his blatant speed to be able to pretty much take Ebisu Sensei out. And one of these days that he would be training, about 3 days later, Naruto would find himself inside of the hot springs. Now, it's at these said hot springs that Naruto would end up encountering Jiraiya, right? Like, he sees this old dude just on top of the bleachers, just watching over the girls that are just in the hot tub and stuff like that. And Naruto would stand right next to Jiraiya being like, "Hey, old man, what you doing?" As, you know, Jiraiya just falls off his toad and he's like, you scared me, kid." And Naruto would say, "You peeping on those ladies in there?" He's like, "You know, if I was you, I wouldn't really do that." As, you know, he shoots a couple of explosions off of his hands, they begin crackling, and he's like, "You perverted old man, get lost." As, you know, he throws an explosion just to scare Jiraiya off, but Jiraiya, he doesn't care, he doesn't move. He's like, "Kid, do you know who you're messing with? You're messing with the legendary Sannin Jiraiya, the Frog Sage." As Naruto's like, "Wait, I mean Toad Sage." As Naruto's like, "Wait, the Jiraiya?" Calming down entirely. His entire demeanor pretty much changes, right? And he looks at Jiraiya and he's like, "Are you genuinely the Toad Sage, Jiraiya, the student of Hiruzen?" And Jiraiya's like, "Indeed I am." He's like, "What do you know about me?" And Naruto's like, "Oh, I know a lot about you. I know that you're a perverted old man, but you're strong. At least that's what Hiruzen told me." And Jiraiya's like, damn it, the old man always saying things like that. He's like, "Well, what's your name, kid?" And Naruto doesn't even need to say it. You know, Jiraiya already pretty much knows. The eyes gave it away instantly, but Naruto still looks at Jiraiya and he's like, "The name's Naruto Uzumaki." As from here, Jiraiya says, "So you're the son of the 4th, eh? You're the son of my student. You know, I trained him a long time ago." Naruto, after hearing this, would say, "I know, Hiruzen told me." As from here, he goes on to ask him, "Any chance you could train me for the upcoming Chunin exams? I need somebody to help me refine my taijutsu." And Jiraiya, after hearing this, would say, "You got it, kid," as this would pretty much embark a 1-month training journey with Naruto essentially actually being taught the Toad summoning jutsu and actually being able to nail it in 3 days, just due to the fact that his chakra control is just way higher than it even was in the original. And because Orochimaru never hit him with the 5-pronged seal, his chakra control wasn't messed up as at all this time around, and with only Kurama trying to interfere, which Naruto has already pretty much gotten past. But because of this, he would actually be able to perform the water walking, tree walking, and things of that nature. And this would lead Naruto to essentially be able to skip ahead a couple of levels on his training. And when Jiraiya asked him about his control over the Kyuubi, Naruto says that he has had a couple of moments where he's had to summon the chakra of the 9 tails, and so far all he's been able to muster is 1 tail. And according to the beast's name, he assumes that it's going to be 9 tails at some point. And Jiraiya's like, exactly. Naruto tells Jiraiya that he doesn't have to worry and that he can basically control it, and just ask him one thing: can you teach me the Rasengan? I've heard a lot of stories about my father using that strange jutsu, and I've just wanted somebody to teach it to me. Haven't really had anybody who's been able to actually show me the moves, so I was wondering if you could actually show me. I figured that if I can, use that alongside my explosions, I could probably pack a powerful punch. And Jiraiya smiles, saying, "Oh, so you want to learn the Rasengan, don't you, kid?" As from here, he goes on to essentially teach him the 3-step method to learning the Rasengan, and he would end up actually mastering it in about a week. Just the same amount of time that it would have taken Naruto and canon. Just because of the levels, the jutsu's difficulty level, it still would take some time. Naruto, after mastering the jutsu, would not have to use a shadow clone along with himself, because the fact that Naruto this time being a little bit more of a genius than he would be in the original, and using shadow clones to speed up the process, would have finally been able to learn how to use the Rasengan with only 1 hand. This would be pretty cool because it's finally going to lead Naruto to be able to actually use this jutsu more efficiently in battle. And honestly, I just think that it's a cool little thing just to include, just because why not? I mean, there's really no reason not to. That said though, eventually they would end up sparring more and more every day, and Naruto would always end his training off with him sparring against about 100 clones. He has to defeat every single one of them, and some days he would, some days he wouldn't, depending on how hard his difficulty level was on his training. He would end up adding 10 and 10 and 10 and 10 more clones, until eventually by the final day of training, he would be up to defeating 200 shadow clones before his chakra level would just completely poof out, right? But because of this, Naruto would have ended up gaining a lot more speed and would be comparable to that of, like, let's say third gate Lee speed and taijutsu level. He would not be copying Rock Lee's moves, but he would actually be implementing his speed into his own moveset that he has that's very similar to Bakugo's fighting style, a very unorthodox and also straightforward attacking pattern. He uses explosions to speed up his hand attacks, and he would also use his explosions to be able to fight long distance, using his explosion ability to actually fly up into the air and make his travel distance be pretty much shortened by a heavy amount. Naruto, I'm not gonna say he's a prodigy, but I'm also not gonna say he's not a prodigy, because let's be honest here, Naruto's a prodigy. But regardless of this said fact, Naruto would be told a ton of stories by Jiraiya of his father that he had actually never heard before. And Jiraiya would actually be the one who spills the bean to Naruto that Minato, when he was young, was probably around the same strength level that Naruto is at now. It wasn't really until he actually ended up learning the Flying Thunder God Jutsu that he actually became as fast as he is in the original, telling Naruto that while Minato was an incredibly fast shinobi, even faster than himself, he was never able to reach those levels of speed without the Flying Thunder God. And Naruto asks him exactly what that entails and how he can learn that. Jiraiya explains to him that it has a lot to do with sealing, and that's something that doesn't actually come to people naturally. It's something that actually took him at least 5 years to develop, and once he did, he became a very powerful shinobi. Now, I'm really not sure if this is actually true, like if Minato actually developed the Flying Raijin Jutsu like later or earlier, but I'm just going to be saying this just come on guys, just stick with me. It's just like a cool moment for Naruto to realize that his father was not some sort of god. His father was a human just like him, and he had to go through his trials and tribulations just like anybody else. Naruto even heard the stories of Minato, his father, when he was actually creating the Rasengan, and how it took him so many years to actually develop the jutsu itself. Naruto would be pretty happy at hearing all of these stories, and finally would feel a little bit of like his resolve, how do I put this? His resolve would just kind of strengthen itself, because it's like, you know, now he knows that his dad's not just this like god, right? Because that's always how he's pictured his dad. He's always put him on this pedestal because of just how much air people have been blowing onto him. You know what I mean? Like, everybody just hypes Minato up so much for no good reason. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good reason, but it's not like you don't have to hype him up that much. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get to. But regardless though, we would end up having the situation go down where Naruto pretty much ends up thanking Jiraiya, and the day of the Chunin exams ends up arriving. Now, immediately once Naruto makes his way towards the ring of the Chunin exams, he would immediately be excited to show Neji just how much stronger he's gotten. And so the battle proctor would immediately announce, Hajime, saying, you know, start, and immediately Naruto blitzes at the direction of Neji. Neji being like, what? How's he moving? So Naruto shoots an explosion to the side. He's going explosion side to side, blowing himself up into the air and being right on top of Neji as he shoots a gigantic explosion downwards onto the ground, picking up the dirt, leading to many of the people watching the fight not being able to see. But Neji would have used the rotation jutsu to block it, and Naruto would have lunged all the way backwards, saying, fine, I'm not gonna play your game, Neji. I'm not gonna get close enough for you to actually be able to tag me. So he cups his hands together and shoots an AP shot, blasting it at the direction of Neji, as Neji ends up pretty much having to dodge out of the way. And immediately Naruto smiles, thinking that that's definitely how he might be able to win. So he shoots more and more AP shots, and eventually Neji reveals the spinning rotation jutsu, leading to the members of the Hyuga clan being absolutely shocked that some branch family member was actually able to even remotely do anything close to what Neji just did. But it would be an incredible display of power and something that many people would actually be interested in. Neji, following this, would immediately rush in closer towards the direction of Naruto, and with throwing a couple of kunais, would actually be able to close the distance. Naruto eventually leaps up into the air as soon as Neji is in range of using his palm jutsu, and Naruto up inside of the air would begin to essentially throw kunais and AP shots at the direction of Neji, with Neji calling him a coward and Naruto saying, coward? He immediately lands onto the ground in front of Neji and says, alright Neji, I'll play your little game. Let's see how much of a coward I am. As immediately he cracks his fists and he smiles, saying, I can't wait to get back at you for what you did to Hinata. As from here, he lunges in and finally showcases his true display of speed, as he's able to actually keep up with Neji in terms of speed, but Neji's, overall attack speed is a little bit more powerful than Naruto's, especially considering that he's trained to hit and bring his hands back and continue hitting, while Naruto can release very powerful impact hits, but it takes him a little more time to recoil because both of his arms, he shoots blows with his explosions each and every attack. It would definitely win Neji, but by the time that Naruto would be able to throw 15 attacks at him, Neji would be able to throw 30 something palm strikes at Naruto, sending him flying back, not exactly dismantling each and every single one of Naruto's chakra paths, but definitely making it a lot harder for him to use anything except for his Kekkie Genkai, which is not actually a Kekkie Genkai because it's literally just a quirk. But it would definitely go a long way, and Neji would pretty much have Naruto down on the ropes. But it's at this moment that Naruto would pretty much end up saying, you think that that's all that's gonna take to beat me? You think a little bit of my chakra paths being taken out is gonna do anything? Think again, bud, as immediately the power of the Nine Tails begins to flare up and it begins to essentially open his chakra paths up once again. Naruto, immediately following this, would proceed to essentially create a bunch of clones. Now these clones would rush towards the direction of Neji, and because his clones are trained they're used to literally fighting himself day after day after day, Naruto's clones are nothing to actually laugh at. Eventually, the clones would be able to overcome Neji, and they would be able to actually grab him by the arms and legs, holding Neji down as Naruto blitzes in with an explosion on one hand and a Rasengan in another, shooting straight at Neji with a Rasengan embedding it straight into Neji's stomach, with Neji going and falling straight into the earth and just like completely getting knocked out. Neji is KO'd, right? And everybody watching the fight would just be like, that a boy, Naruto, right? Like they're cheering because this time around the villagers don't hate Naruto, and Naruto's not doing this to prove that, you know, destiny can be changed, but instead he's doing this just to show that Neji's destiny is weaker than his. So Neji never ends up changing his view on life because Naruto doesn't care about whether Neji thinks that it's destiny or not. But, you know, Naruto definitely does have a good destiny. Like, he's the son of the fourth, he has a nine tails, he has an incredible Kekkie Genkai alongside of himself. Naruto pretty much has every single tool he needs to succeed. And if he was just some basic ninja without the Kurama or without being the son of Minato, he probably wouldn't be as strong as he is. But because he just has overall better genetics than Neji, trains harder, and has that same exact potential, they would definitely overwhelm Neji in the long run. And that they did. But because of this, Neji would be taken straight to the infirmary, and Naruto would go over to Hinata to pretty much tell her about, you know, his victory over Neji, saying that he avenged her. With Hinata, you know, shyly saying that she didn't want revenge. She just wanted him to advance in the finals. And Naruto smiles as he tells Hinata that he'll catch her some other time. And Hinata says, right, Naruto. As from here, Naruto makes his way towards the arena, once again awaiting the arrival of Sasuke, right? And Sasuke's arrival would definitely come. It's not something that's going to be hidden or anything, but Sasuke definitely makes his way towards the ring. And just like in the original, Sasuke would come in just such a badass fashion, right? His hair would be longer. He has that like bandage design, and it just looks so dope. And he arrives, and the proctor's like, Sasuke Uchiha has arrived. And immediately Gaara would come onto the battlefield, and everybody would begin cheering for this dope battle that's about to commence, as immediately the proctor would say, Hajime.
Immediately the battle commences, and as Naruto watches Sasuke move, he remembers the events of the Forest of Death with one thing on his mind: the fact that he couldn't even save his friends from Orochimaru, and got lucky against the Sound 4 when Lee showed up. He would grit his teeth thinking about things as he realizes that if it wasn't for Lee, things could have gone south quickly. He then begins to think back to when Sasuke woke up and let so much dark energy out he was almost unrecognizable, and so thinks about what happened with that. But ultimately he puts it to the back of his mind and thinks that it's better to just watch what happens. He does so, and eventually Sasuke uses a Chidori that he would learn from Kakashi over the 1 month time skip to cause Gaara to run away, partially transformed, as Sasuke would follow him, and in turn Naruto would follow Sasuke. From here, things would pretty much stay the same as they would be in the original canon until Naruto arrives on the scene and sees Sasuke about to be hit by Gaara. He would realize he's way too far to save him, and in a moment of desperation, Naruto could almost swear that he would see Sasuke die right in front of him. And so, through gritting his teeth, he would push himself to get in the way and save Sasuke. He does so when he would put Sasuke down upon another tree branch as his body feels heavy strain, especially in his arms, as it would be bugging him at the moment, as Gaara would simply look up towards the direction of Naruto staring at him menacingly. And he would rush back at him as he would proceed to try to claw at Naruto, but from here, Naruto would jump away with an explosion straight to Gaara's face as he creates 50 shadow clones mid-air and lands on yet another tree branch. All of these clones would begin to bombard Gaara, giving Naruto enough time to put Sasuke down in a tree as he notices his curse mark flaring up, and he decides to tell Sasuke to stay down for now. He'll let him recover. Sasuke tries to get up, and Naruto tries to make him stay down, saying, Sasuke, stay down. Weaklings shouldn't get in the way, with a smirk, as he shoots off and he proceeds to use an AP shot cannon, a massive beam of energy that would heavily damage Gaara, but it would drain lots of energy from Naruto, and from here, Gaara punches Naruto as they go back and forth, and eventually, Naruto busts out Gamabunta. And the battle that we would pretty much get in canon essentially starts going very, very eerily similar to what we get in, the Naruto lore story. That said, it's at this moment that we would really only see two small changes. Number one being that Naruto has a lot of an easier time actually hitting Gaara due to the fact that he's a lot faster in this version, with the explosions helping him propel himself, and he uses a different moveset, and also is just incredibly a lot smarter than he would be in the original. Obviously OG Naruto was still smart, but this version of him is just in a whole different level than the one that we get in canon. That said, this would actually change one more thing, which is his speech that he would give to Gaara, which would change this time, since instead of him telling him calmly, he would do it through yelling. He would eventually get through to Gaara and point out to him that he has family to take advantage of, to stop mourning over what he doesn't have and wake the F up. He's lucky to have them. They're there for them if anybody else isn't. And so, he pretty much just screams at Gaara some sense into him. And from here, Gaara would pretty much end up thanking Naruto as, both of them would fall onto the ground, and suddenly he would rest as, a couple of minutes later, Sasuke rushes over to Naruto, picking him up, throwing him on his back, as he would pretty much tell him that he'll take the loser back with him, with Naruto asking him if he feels fine. Sasuke would nod as they would return back to Konoha and realize what happened, to the village, as well as Hiruzen's death, with Naruto feeling the impact of this most. After hearing who did it, feelings of rage like never before would overcome him, as he would realize that his incompetence and his lack of strength would have been pretty much the reason that Hiruzen actually ended up dying. Him thinking this would pretty much come back in a very, very powerful way, as he would simply sit there and remain silent, thinking about how if he would have put a stop to Orochimaru in the forest, he could have maybe prevented all of this. But he thinks and stops for a second that for now, he won't even be close to anything that Orochimaru can muster up, so there's no point in even beating himself up for it. But he decides that in a couple of years, he will be the one who pretty much avenges Hiruzen. And so this would piss Naruto off to no end, as he would be angry with himself and he would feel guilt over Hiruzen's death, as well as an overwhelming sense of sadness. After the funeral is over and everybody would have pretty much been gone, Naruto would finally arrive in front of Hiruzen's grave, as he would stand over it crying as he says, "Damn it, old man. If only you weren't so rusty, you could have kicked them to the curb. Why didn't you do the impossible like you always do and live? Why did he have to beat you, old man? Is he really that strong that you would die?" Rain slowly begins to fall on Naruto as he sits there, and eventually Jiraiya would come over to him as Naruto looks up at the direction of Jiraiya, and he hears Jiraiya begin to speak to him, telling him that even though Hiruzen is death, they have to move past it. As Naruto's entire demeanor changes, he grits his teeth as he looks down on the floor and says, "Okay, and you think that you gotta be the one to tell me? The old man is in a better place now anyway. I'm sure I'll be fine." Asking Jiraiya who will lead them now, as Jiraiya smiles and tells him to get his things together, that they're gonna go off to find the 5th Hokage. After this, about 1 week later, Naruto would find himself of a hotel, as Jiraiya would pretty much end up sneaking off in search of some hotties, and he would pretty much just be stuck studying the sealing jutsus that he would have been trying to learn throughout the entire journey, since this time he already knows the Rasengan, so now he's simply trying to learn the Flying Raijin, so he could catch up to his father and avenge Hiruzen by killing Orochimaru. He would continue reading scrolls until eventually a knock at the door could be heard, and he would go to open it only to see Itachi and Kisame standing there, with Itachi's eyes piercing into Naruto's soul. He realizes this, and it's at this moment that he realizes this is the guy Sasuke is after. Sorry, I read the script wrong, but he realizes that the guy standing in front of him with the red eyes is definitely Sasuke's brother, and he would immediately proceed to try to use a smoke bomb to run out through the window, but Itachi would appear in front of him using blinding speed as he stops Naruto from reaching the exit, and Naruto is just in shock at the levels of speed that Itachi just displayed. He tries to blow the ceiling off, but Kisame comes in and hits Naruto with the blunt side of his blade as he sends him crashing at the floor, and Naruto was left on the ground in pain at the blow that he had just received from Kisame. He gets up and screams, "Get out of the way or I'll blow you to hell!" as he launches a giant explosion that alerts Jiraiya of the situation. He would rush in as fast as he possibly can, but simultaneously Sasuke would end up arriving at the battlefield, and he would have the similar interaction that he does in canon with Itachi, as Kisame would begin to essentially brief Naruto in on why they're even there, and Naruto says that he's not going anywhere, that Kisame can F off already, cause he's not going, as he creates shadow clones to hold Kisame off. And while this is happening, Jiraiya arrives after Sasuke was put under the Tsukiyomi by Itachi. And from here, he puts up the Toadmouth Jutsu, stopping Itachi and Kisame from leaving, as Itachi goes on to escape using a Matarasu, as my guy would arrive right on the scene a couple of minutes later. A bit effing late, but anyways, he is briefed on what happened and would end up taking Sasuke back to the village in order to heal him when Tsunade arrives. They continue searching, and Naruto during this time would bond more and more with Jiraiya, as over this trip they eventually stumble into a bar where, wouldn't you know it, they see Tsunade. They approach, and she would end up greeting Jiraiya begrudgingly as she asks what the brat is doing there. And Jiraiya says he picked up a new student, as Tsunade would let up another one, Jiraiya, as Jiraiya simply just lets out some laughter. And Naruto begins to wonder who else Jiraiya has taught in the past. By the way, guys, sorry about the little water bottle falling. But anyways, he would wonder who he's taught in the past. And he would just think about this, but as we all know, he's gonna be learning eventually. A little bit of foreshadowing. Anyways, though, they talk for a bit, and eventually Jiraiya drops the question, as immediately as soon as she hears the question coming from Jiraiya, Tsunade would immediately get angry that he would even ask that question to her and begin to essentially start disrespecting the Hokage. But as soon as Naruto begins to hear what she's saying, he says that she needs to he basically says she needs to shut the fuck up, because nobody will disrespect the Kages in front of him, especially not some low-life, washed up Sanin who's now even dropped so low as to be called the legendary loser. As Tsunade, once she hears this coming from the mouth of some 13-year-old kid, would begin to get very, very much enraged. And Shizune would be the one who would have to hold Tsunade back, as, before she destroys anything, she would end up saying, "You want to take this outside, kid?" Naruto stands up immediately with a smile on his face as he points with his thumb to the outside. He would walk out and tell her that she's a sorry excuse of a ninja, and Konoha would be better off without her. As she would get mad and look at the direction of him, as she says that he talks tough for a little brat, eventually making a bet with him on returning to Konoha and putting the necklace up on the line, leading her to say that if Naruto was to land a single punch, she'll come back, and so it would begin. Tsunade would start the battle off by shattering the ground with one finger, and Naruto shoots up into the air unfazed as he creates a Rasengan in his hand that would inevitably shock Tsunade. He powers with an explosion in his left hand, as with his right he would try to slam a Rasengan into her body, but it would almost hit her, but she would be able to yell at Jiraiya saying, "What possessed you to teach a kid a jutsu like that?" As Jiraiya simply smiles, and Naruto would come back with 7 shadow clones that she destroys easily, as Naruto uses a wind style jutsu, which does nothing. But eventually he shoots out like 40 clones at her direction, which she would easily destroy. And then eventually Naruto would go on to create 7 more clones to attack, as Naruto would throw some smoke bombs and kunais at that direction, as Naruto would be pretty much the second to last one, as Tsunade would go in to destroy more shadow clones she would be thinking, but he would be the second to last one, as he would go on to tank a blow from Tsunade and smile, as he goes to throw a punch, and she would be shocked that, that was the real Naruto. She punches Naruto, but he would just tank the blow, as she can't really do nothing. Naruto's already at point blank range, and Naruto's, he rushes in with his fists as he stops midway and then taps her on her face, saying that she loses. She would immediately be stunned, and Naruto would say that a deal's a deal. As she sees her brother inside of Naruto, she has like this vision of her brother inside of Naruto, and she proceeds to go on to give Naruto a massive hug with her giant, squishy embrace. Of course, that is what I was gonna say. I mean, what did you guys think, you freaking weirdos? Anyways though, regardless, everything from this day would pretty much end up ending well, and Naruto now has some newfound respect for Tsunade during their walk back to their motel. Naruto at this time would ask Jiraiya what Tsunade was like at her peak, and Jiraiya proceeds to tell him stories of the past, with Naruto questioning him on if they're actually true or not. He'd be in complete awe at what she used to be capable of as a shinobi and what she was like back in the day, impressed with her feats and learning she's even the granddaughter of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. He would be beyond impressed with her, excited to see what the future holds, as the next day would come and Naruto would wake up and go meet Tsunade, but she'd be literally nowhere to be found. He'd be confused, and so both of them would spend an entire hour looking for her, as eventually they see her, but she's about to shake Orochimaru's hand. Naruto would be on top of a rooftop as he would scream, "What the hell? You're working with the enemy? I should have known somebody as fake as you who ran away from the village can't possibly return and act as if it's all okay. You damn traitor!" He shoots off towards her with an explosion as she is forced to jump back, avoiding him, as she looks at Naruto and says, "I'm on your side, you idiot. I was trying to kill the bastard." And Kabuto would say, "And she almost got me as well. If it wasn't for you blasting in, she would have actually landed the blow. I truly believe for a second she was on our side." But from here, Naruto would stop and, be like, "Don't lie to me, Tsunade. Is this true?" As she would hit him over the top of the head, and Jiraiya would appear next to them as Naruto runs towards him direction in a sassy way, asking why the hell didn't he tell him? As, Jiraiya looks at him and says, "Get your head in the game," with a straight face. The enemy's standing right there. Immediately, Naruto gets serious and tells Orochimaru that he better remember the name Naruto Namikaze, because now he's gonna be the one who slays Orochimaru and avenges the old man. Orochimaru would laugh, and from here, he would try to run off. Eventually, after chasing him for a while, they end up making it to a plains field where they fight just like they would in canon, while Naruto has to fight against Kabuto, who persistently gets in the way. And Naruto would just try to shoot an explosion and get him, but Kabuto would stay on him, not letting up whatsoever, as eventually he would end up landing a few decisive blows on Naruto, using scalpels to mess up Naruto's nervous system and cause him to move weird. Whenever he tries to throw a punch, he throws a kick, and it's strange because Naruto isn't able to control himself. He can't control his body for some reason. Kabuto would then from here go on to land a bunch of blows on Naruto, and Naruto would begin to get angrier and angrier as the fight progresses, realizing that he can't even beat one of Orochimaru's underlings. So how in the world is he gonna beat Orochimaru himself? Eventually, this cultivates in Kurama manifesting a tail behind Naruto, as all of his wounds and his chakra path and system would end up healing perfectly, as he blitzes at the direction of Kabuto and would slam a Rasengan into him, then rushing in at Orochimaru, who is now undoubtedly effed. But he would go on to reverse summon himself out of there, and from here, Naruto would be left to scream, "No! Damn it, he got away! I almost had him!" as Jiraiya puts a hand over him and he calms him down. 1 week later, Naruto would finally make his way back to the village, and Sasuke and Kakashi would have made a full recovery, with Naruto going to visit Sasuke and Sasuke demanding Naruto for a fight to see who's stronger. It would end up with the Chidori Rasengan clash, and Naruto would obliterate the water container, showing Sasuke that he would have at the very least lost a limb. Eventually, he would run off, and Naruto would realize that he literally could have killed Sasuke at that moment had it not been for Kakashi to be there. He goes off to train and gets his mind off of things, wondering what he almost did over not being able to control his emotions, and he would beat himself up over it. Meanwhile, Kakashi would approach Sasuke for a legendary speech, tying him up before saying his legendary speech. After this, Sasuke would be alone to ponder his situation, and eventually he'd be approached by the Sound 4, as this encounter goes exactly like it does in canon, and pretty much everything remains the same, until Naruto's battle against Kimimaro, when the entire team is assembled and all of them were split up to have their individual battles. Now, this battle is of course not exactly going to be having a definitive winner, but I think that it is going to be having some interesting mechanics just due to the fact that this time, Naruto's not going to play it with Kimimaro. I mean, Kimimaro is obviously a very worthwhile adversary, and I do think that if Naruto was to get up close and personal and try to actually fight him by himself using his own physical body, Naruto would definitely get flipped like an omelet. I mean, Naruto's absolutely going to get devastated by him. And so I think that Naruto would pretty much want to stay away from that. So I see this encounter pretty much going like this. Naruto immediately tries to rush in and punch him just to get him out of the way, but he would quickly realize that Kimimaro is way too strong in taijutsu, and he would get beat up just a little bit. This would lead Naruto to fly up into the air and create a ton of clones as he watches over the encounter, and Kimimaro shoots a couple of bones from his fingers at him, which would actually pierce him on the cheek. And this would actually shock Naruto, because Naruto wasn't expecting anybody to actually have some long-range distance attacks other than jutsus. And whenever that happens, Naruto has the time to actually watch them as they have to wield their hand signs before using that. But Naruto, realizing this, decides just to pretty much bombard him with hundreds of clones. And he would do this. And eventually, Naruto would hold Kimimaro off long enough for Lee to get into the situation. And after Lee lets Naruto go after Sasuke, Naruto begins catching up as he would yell, "Damn it, Sasuke! Stop running! I'm getting tired of playing this game!" Eventually though, Sasuke jumps atop the head of Madara and says to Naruto that he would have never understood his pain or why he's doing this, because he's too dumb. Naruto, after hearing this, his eyes would twitch and he would lift an eyebrow as he says, "Dumb? Dumb? Sasuke, look at yourself. You're going towards the man who attacked us in the forest, the guy who was single-handedly responsible for countless deaths during the Chunin exams, and the guy who killed my gramps. Does that not make your blood boil at the thought of it? Sasuke, I knew I would never accept, the Sasuke I knew would never accept handouts of power. He'd achieve it on his own, not by getting help from someone who might even be worse than your brother." Sasuke, after hearing that, would smirk, as he would think that nobody could ever be worse than Itachi. And Naruto would speed blitz Sasuke with an explosion punch, screaming, "What the hell, Sasuke? Does that not mean anything to you? What about Kakashi or Sakura? You're just gonna abandon us like that? The only family you have left?" And Sasuke from here would push his hand off of him, as he says he would never understand, since he doesn't know what it's like to lose your family. As Naruto screams back at him, "At least you had a family. You had a mother, a father, an entire clan of people just like you. Well, I had nothing but an old man, constantly saying I need to be better than my father. That my father would have accomplished things in half the time. You had the luxury of having a family, something I can only dream of, and you're gonna throw away the rest of your life to kill someone else? Are you serious? The guy that I'm after? How dare you, Sasuke? You're going after the one guy that I want to kill to get stronger? Now that's cold, Sasuke." And from here, Sasuke would say, "I'm done explaining things." As Sasuke, looks at Naruto, and Naruto would simply have to grit his teeth as he screams, "If you join him, that makes you my enemy as well, Sasuke." Immediately, Naruto rushes in, and Sasuke would be shocked by the speed. He would then go on to activate his Sharingan and would be able to read Naruto like a book. It's hardly even a challenge to him. Naruto's attacks are calculated and precise, but are not nearly fast enough to actually hit Sasuke. And so, Sasuke would start the fight on the winning side, beating Naruto with taijutsu attacks, as Naruto just is left to get angrier and angrier, saying that he won't let him join Orochimaru. If he's weak, train on your own. Don't search for power by going to that creep, that he could even get himself killed, to get it the way that the old Sasuke would have, that he's a coward. But from here, Sasuke would shoot a gigantic fireball at Naruto, which a tail would appear behind Naruto as the rage would overwhelm him, and he would scream it away. As the Nine Tails' power would begin to overwhelm his essence, and Naruto would come flying in with attacks so powerful, Sasuke has no answer. Until finally, his curse mark would activate, and Naruto fills the Valley of the End with clones that would rush at Sasuke as the battle begins to look very eerily similar to the original canon, with Sasuke having a harder time. But this would push him into the stage 2 version faster than in even the original, and Naruto, seeing this, would decide to go in for the attack as they rush each other, screaming each other's names as memories would flash in the back of their heads as they do so. And eventually Naruto's senses come back to him, his resolve lessens, and he remembers what almost happened the last time he and Sasuke were about to clash Chidori and Rasengan. His resolve weakens as he realizes that the last time he could have killed him, he's unsure if that would happen now because he doesn't know if Sasuke's strong enough to even compete with this. He might cause Sasuke to lose an arm or worse. And from here, as his resolve weakens, Naruto and Sasuke's Chidori and Rasengans would clash as Naruto loses it and would be sent flying off. This would lead Sasuke to look over at Naruto as he leaves his headband in Naruto's hand and walks over towards Orochimaru into the forest. Hours after this would pass and Naruto would find himself in the infirmary, as when he wakes up, Sakura would be there to see him, as well as Tsunade, and Sakura would apologize for asking him to do everything by himself. Naruto looks away because he feels he failed Sakura, knowing he could have won that had he just not let his thoughts get the better of him. But for now, he looks down and says, "Don't worry about it, Sakura." As from here, he would then be approached by Jiraiya, and he would ask Naruto if he's ready to get stronger. From here, Naruto and Jiraiya would share a moment, as Naruto was told by Jiraiya about the Akatsuki's motives, and told that he needs more strength. He thinks back to the motel incident when he had to fight against both of those Akatsuki members, and thinks about how awfully weak he felt compared to them. He says that he's willing to do whatever it takes to get stronger, and that he's going to become strong enough to save Sasuke and prove that Hiruzen was right all along, that he will be stronger than his father. And so commences the 3-year time skip. Wow, this place hasn't changed a bit, Jiraiya-sensei. It looks almost identical apart from some brand new buildings. From here, Jiraiya tells Naruto to go home and relax as he has some things to take care of. And so, Naruto goes on top of the highest building and says, "It's good to be back." From here, a pink-haired girl notices him and proceeds to ask him if he notices anything different. And from here, Naruto, not being as dumb as he would be in canon, seeing as he was raised by Hiruzen and actually taught better manners than in the original, not to mention his time being around Jiraiya and not being as clueless as ever, he would actually know exactly what to say. He would say, "Of course, Sakura, you've matured a lot." As, you know, he can tell. And from here, you know, she blushes and you know, after this, Naruto essentially just goes on to walk and talk with Sakura, as he would essentially go on to meet the rest of the other rookies, stumbling across Ichiraku ramen and stopping for just a quick plate of ramen from his favorite ever place. Naruto, as he's sitting down, would have a conversation with Teuchi and tell him that he's been around for these past couple of years, and not a single place has matched up to the level of ramen of this place in general. From here, Teuchi would be like, "Well, I'm glad you like it, Naruto." And afterwards, he would pretty much go on to serve him another one, saying, "This one, it's on the house." As from here, Naruto goes on to gobble that thing down, and immediately afterwards, Jiraiya would walk into the shop as well, being like, "Hey, Naruto, Tsunade's actually been calling for you. I had to take care of it myself, but it looks like you're actually going to have to report to the big boss." From here, Jiraiya's like, that smells good. Maybe we should come back later. And from here, Naruto would pretty much make his way towards Tsunade's office, as he would essentially be informed of the fact that he will now have to face a certain individual to gauge his progress that he's made over the last 3 years. Naruto from here would be like, "Alright, sure, but make sure that they're stronger than Jiraiya, if there even is anybody here that's stronger than him." And as afterwards, he sees Kakashi by the window and says, "Hey Kakashi, long time no see. I got a little gift for you. Consider it me making it up to you for being a little bit brat before." As Kakashi looks at him with an eyebrow raised and is just like, "Little?" As Naruto says, "Don't push it." And from here, he goes on a takeout tactic, make out tactic paradise thing, and hands it over to Kakashi. As Kakashi immediately, as soon as he sees this, he was about to actually have to fight Naruto now, but instead he makes some excuse up and is like, I think you should have some time to relax. So from here, he pretty much goes on to get out of there. and Naruto from here turns to Tsunade as he says, "I presume I'm gonna have to be fighting Kakashi Sensei, am I right?" As she smiles and says, "Sharp as ever, Naruto." He would smirk, and from here he would go home to see a mess, creating a bunch of clones that would proceed to start cleaning it up as he goes off and does some little light training. As he returns back to his house a couple of hours later, and right as he would be about to sit down in his bed, Sakura knocks at the door and says that it's about time that they get started. Naruto gets his stuff and proceeds to make his way towards the practice field, back where they took the bell test, and just waits for Kakashi as he goes on to explain the rules and pretty much begins to count down. Kakashi from here would go 3, 2, and as Kakashi says 1, in a flash, Naruto would appear behind Kakashi, rip the bells with one kunai, catch them, and then with his other hand shoot an explosion simultaneously as he would send Kakashi flying with both bells in his hands, and Tsunade would be absolutely shocked and say, "Naruto, when did you..." As Jiraiya would just proceed to laugh, and Kakashi would ask Naruto when in the world he placed that mark on him. And Naruto would say the second he saw him, he handed him the book, he placed it on the book. And since it's in the back pocket of Kakashi, Naruto took advantage of the opportunity, with Kakashi being absolutely dumbfounded, as from here they all proceed to ask him if he's learned anything else. And Naruto says he also happened to master wind, fire, and earth on his journey, as well as working on some brand new moves and creating a more powerful variant of the Rasengan. He would have also worked on some new moves with his explosions and tried to tame the power of the nine-tailed fox, but not too much luck there, seeing as he can only control up to 3 tails without it taking completely over him. And Jiraiya saying when he gets to 4, you do not want to see him there. As from here, Naruto and everybody else would pretty much just kind of acknowledge this, and they would be extremely shocked, as Naruto says he also brushed up some of his basic skills and mastered the flying Raiji not too long ago, about 1 year, seeing as it took him a while to get down those seals that Minato ended up making, and he also ended up improving on it just a little bit. All of them would be extremely dumbfounded, as Jiraiya says he is my greatest student, and he would proceed to essentially throw an arm around Naruto, scruffling up his hair, as Naruto's like, get off me, old man. And from here, he would be like, if anything, you might even be stronger than your pops now, who knows? As Naruto, hearing that, would smile on the inside and say, soon, I'll definitely be stronger. But Jiraiya knows that he still hasn't caught up quite yet, seeing as Minato also does have access to Sage Mode. So if Minato was to whip that out, he'd probably beat Naruto. But from here, Jiraiya would go on to tell everyone to go out and catch up, so they do so, and they would go on to have an amazing time. In weeks' time, Tsunade would eventually have a mission for them, and an urgent one at that, as they have to go and save the Kazekage Gaara, with Naruto being completely unsurprised as he says he's heard of that, but wondered who could have beaten Kazekage Gaara. And as soon as she mentions that they were wearing robes, Naruto murmurs, the Akatsuki. As Naruto would immediately get his game face on, and they would proceed to embark on the journey. During the time that they would make it there, nothing really interesting happens, except once they actually make it to the land of the sand, where Sakura is there only to see Kankuro laying down on the bed and asks what's the situation. She proceeds to immediately begin trying to help Kankuro in any way possibly she can, and as soon as Kakashi walks into the building, Lady Chiho immediately gets angry and is like, White Fang! She tries to rush in and essentially try to, hit Kakashi or beat him over the head or something, right? But Kakashi, being as he's a very, very fast and exceptional shinobi, would immediately be able to dodge out of the way, as the confusion would all be cleared up in due time. And eventually, Tamari comes into the room, she's immediately like, okay, what's going on with my brother? And she sees Naruto. Now, all I'm gonna say is Naruto is just looking scrumptious. I mean, I haven't exactly told you guys what he looks like, but he's pretty ripped and he has like this really cool outfit. It's like a black outfit. You guys can really, in general, imagine whatever outfit you guys want. But I would like to think that Naruto was wearing something similar to what Bakugo has, and he doesn't have the gauntlets obviously, but something more of like a slim look that would accentuate his chest muscles and like his waist and stuff like that. And he would also have like Like he would basically just be built like an absolute unit is basically what I'm trying to get to. Naruto is tall and his hair is just in a perfect way that Temari finds extremely, satisfying. And Naruto looks at her and, for a moment she stops thinking about her brother as she then looks at him and asks if he's gonna be okay. Naruto seeing Temari again after such a long time would be very interested in what he sees, and Sakura would brief her that everything should be fine. So long as she can make this antidote quick enough, her brother should be alright in the next couple of days. Temari would sigh a sigh of relief, and from here, Naruto goes on to pretty much be outside, waiting for Sakura to continue healing Kankuro. He places a mark on Kankuro himself, and not only that, he goes over to Temari as he goes over to grab her hand and shake it, also placing a marking on her hand, as he then asks her how she's been ever since the day of the Chunin exams, and she says she's been great overall, and that it is a little bit of a hassle being the second-hand man to the Kazekage. She has so much paperwork. From here, Naruto says, I bet it is. Being a Hokage isn't exactly all fun and games now, is it? As Temari's like, tell me about it. But from here, Naruto goes on to say that they won't be looking for Gaara anytime soon, and for now, they're gonna have to take care of Kankuro. They'll probably be moving on with the mission in a couple of hours, so if she's not too busy, he was wondering if she would be willing to go grab a bite to eat. Temari immediately would be like, sure, and immediately they make their way towards the ramen shop that they have at their village. Naruto says that this ramen actually tastes pretty good, and Temari would say, yeah, ramen is my favorite food. As Naruto, Naruto's little man immediately just boom, he goes straight up and he's like, did you say ramen's your favorite food? As Temari's like, yeah, it's a little bit of a habit of me to just come and devour some ramen every now and then. Naruto's like, that's great. And from here, Temari and Naruto go on to share some conversations, catching up over what they've done over the past 3 years, with Temari asking Naruto how his training journey went, and him saying that it did pretty well, that he's definitely gonna bring Gaara back safe, and that he can promise her that. Temari smiles and says, I hope you can, as Naruto says that for now, Gaara probably is just fine, seeing as he is a Kazekage, Naruto won't really have too much of a hard time bringing her brother back. With Temari saying that she hopes so. Naruto then asks her, how Gaara is and how much he's changed over the years, with Temari saying that it's all thanks to him that Gaara's personality did a complete 180. At first, it was hard for him, but after these past couple of years, he finally fixed himself up and managed to become Kage. With Naruto thinking that honestly, that's, well, great. He doesn't think that anybody else in this village could have taken that mantle for themselves, and so he's happy for Gaara. He feels as if Gaara definitely earned it, as if he deserves it. And, Temari smiles. And from here, Naruto and Temari, they end up pretty much saying that, they'll catch each other around. As Temari ends up going back to her place and feeling pretty happy with having spoken to Naruto. With him saying that if she ever wants to hang out again, they could definitely set that up sometime. Temari immediately is like, oh, yes. And before, she stops herself realizing that she sounds desperate and is like, yeah, sure, I'd be willing to hang out with you. Naruto smiles and is like, great. As from here, Temari goes on to essentially, tell Naruto how they're gonna do that, seeing as they live thousands of miles away. Naruto says he has a little teleportation jutsu and that he placed a marking on her, so he'll be able to come to her whenever he wants. Temari would say that that's great, and from here, Naruto would go on to essentially get briefed by Sakura on the status of Kankuro, as she says that we don't have much time to waste. Immediately, the team would embark on the mission, and Lady Chiho provides assistance, saying that it will most likely be Sasori there, and that she would be a great asset there. From here, they end up making their way towards the cave that the Akatsuki members would have Gaara detained in, and so once they bust in, Sakura and Lady Chiho have an all-out battle against, Sasori, as that essentially goes down just like it would in canon, and Naruto alongside Kakashi would be ready to essentially take on the legendary Datara. I love Datara. What can I say? I love his personality, his jutsu, the way he looks. I just love Datara. He's probably one of my favorite characters in Naruto. But, Datara himself, not too keen on trying to face both of them, right? So he immediately creates a clay bird, and Naruto this time, instead of having to chase him on foot or anything like that, would immediately, bam, just shoot off with explosions, shooting from his feet and hands, which Naruto would have learned how to do, mind you. But regardless, he shoots these explosions off his feet and hands, and Datara, who's trying to get away from Naruto via flying and throwing bombs mid-air to try to catch Naruto off guard, would not be working because Naruto would be maneuvering like some sort of crazy bird on like crack or something, right? And Naruto's just zooming by everything that Datara tries to put in his way before Naruto lands on top of the bird, and they begin to exchange taijutsu blows. Datara begins to try to throw attacks at Naruto and use kunais and stuff like that, but Naruto is just outclassing him in every aspect when it comes to taijutsu, leading Datara to jump off of his clay bird and Naruto to scream back at Kakashi, "Go help them out. I'll be right back. If you have that book on you, I'll teleport as soon as I'm done here." Kakashi nods and makes his way back towards the direction of Sakura and Lady Chiho, and he would proceed to essentially provide backup for them as that battle goes down way easier than it was in canon, and Naruto would go on to essentially face off against Datara. Now, Datara would begin to get hard pressed by Naruto because Naruto is not anything to scoff at whatsoever. Naruto is a very, very capable shinobi, and so he would be able to put Datara against the ropes, which causes him to essentially fake his death and eventually escape out of there, having, pretty much not too many battle damage, right? But as soon as that happens, Naruto would use his flying Raijin technique to essentially make it back to Kakashi. And once there, they end up arriving to essentially see Sakura just kind of punching Sasori and the battle continuing, and seeing as both of them are there, they're able to quickly take out Sasori without him willingly trying to kill himself, right? And so basically what ends up happening is they end up getting the information that they needed, and essentially Naruto gets saddened by the fact that he won't be able to bring Gaara back alive. That is, until Lady Chiho would sacrifice herself, and Naruto has this huge smile on his face as he now knows that, yeah, he just scored big time. He saved Gaara, which was his mission, but he had other pressing matters to take care of. He immediately makes his way back to the Sand Village, where Naruto is hailed as a hero alongside Team 7, and Gaara and everybody else would hold a little bit of a ceremony for them just to kind of thank them for saving his life, I guess. And as this happens, we essentially end up having a very, very cool reunion between Naruto and Gaara, with both of them catching up, and Gaara explaining to Naruto that he's pretty glad at the fact that Naruto became as strong and powerful as he has over the time skip, saying that he can't thank him enough, and proceeding to give him a huge compensation of cash as a reward. Naruto's like, nah, I don't need it, but Kakashi is all like, yes, we do, Naruto. And so, they take the reward, and they make their way back to the village to get their normal reward from Tsunade, as after this point, everybody just kind of has about 2 days worth of relaxation before finally being briefed that essentially they're all going to be having to go on a mission, which essentially entails a little bit of covert ops. And since they're gonna have to meet Kabuto and Orochimaru, seeing as that was the information they got from Sasori. The team would immediately be told about who they're going to be having to pair up with, and Tsunade would actually end up throwing an extra member, actually 2 extra members on their team. Number 1, Yamato, who's going to be leading the operation, seeing as Kakashi's on a separate mission, and Sai, who's going to be their 3rd member on this mission. Immediately, they would go on to go back home, and the very next day they would end up meeting up with those 2 said people. Naruto this time around, I don't think I want him to meet Sai quite yet, or Sai to even challenge Naruto and be like, oh, you're weak or whatever, because I don't think that would go very good for Sai. Genuinely, Sai would be taken out from the mission. He would not be in any condition to even go on this mission if Naruto was to face off against him. So we're gonna say that as soon as they meet Sai, Naruto doesn't like him. Why does he not like him? Because Sai just has this aura of fakeness around him. Sai just has this like just this disingenuine nature of like him trying too hard to like be normal, and Naruto doesn't like that. Not to mention that Sai not understanding social cues makes him pretty angry, and overall Naruto just doesn't like Sai. Like, that's all I can say. Naruto just pretty much hates Sai's guts. But regardless of this said fact, what would pretty much end up happening is they embark on the mission and they end up having to go to the land hidden in the grass, right? Now, in this said land, they essentially end up having to use their ninja abilities like as genjutsu and stuff like that to infiltrate the area and basically make it to the location where Sasori was going to have to meet Team 7. Now, once they end up actually arriving to this said place, what ends up essentially happening here is that as soon as, Kabuto realizes that that's not Sasori, he would slash at the, the puppet that, what's it called, Yamato would have created. And so we would end up having a situation where Naruto jumps out in front of everybody and he's kind of like the front and center person, and Orochimaru is basically the one who is standing there and pretty much having to like watch as Naruto gets like angry and he's like, "Where's Sasuke?" Immediately Orochimaru laughs and he's like, "Sasuke, he's back at the base, Naruto." And Naruto says, "Well, for now, I guess I'm gonna have to complete objective 1, killing you." He lunges in immediately using explosions, as Orochimaru would be fascinated by the speed. Naruto throws a couple of kunais in the air and Naruto blitzes at them, shooting explosions to move his trajectory mid-air, as Orochimaru would say, "The flying Raijin," immediately saying, "Taking after your father, eh?" As from here, Naruto goes on to land a bunch of blows on Orochimaru, and Kabuto would have to fight off against Yamato and Sakura. He would be doing so as Sai would essentially be just pretty much standing by using a couple of like animals that he would create out of his art and ink and stuff like that. And Naruto and Orochimaru's battle would be going on rampaging and pretty much using high level jutsus. Naruto slams a Rasengan into Orochimaru, which he would tank and then proceed to continue on facing Naruto, using a bunch of high-level jutsu to try to push Naruto away. Naruto weaves hand signs for a very, very powerful fire style, and this would just be to kind of like keep Orochimaru from like seeing through his attacks, right? He shoots the fire style, Orochimaru is forced to jump up, and without having any landing spot, Naruto blitzes up into the air and shoots an AP shot at Orochimaru, which would actually end up blowing off one of Orochimaru's arms. Orochimaru seeing this creates a new body, and the arm would go right back to how it was before, and Naruto comes in with an explosion, grabbing him by the neck and just slamming him into the earth, with Orochimaru creating like a 6-foot deep crater into the earth, and him climbing out of it, saying, "Very impressive." From here, he goes on to go full power on Naruto, and the battle would slightly begin to get even, but just due to the fact that Naruto was getting angrier and angrier, the power of the Nine Tails would end up spiking up, and Naruto, once he gets to the point of using 3 of the Nine Tails' tails, would have way more speed than Orochimaru, way more destructive capabilities, and overall is just using smart-ish tactics, seeing as his rage is definitely overcoming him. Naruto would begin getting excited at the thought of finally killing Orochimaru, but it's at this moment that they would both immediately try to retrieve out of there, with Orochimaru using some strange retrieve jutsu that I definitely think he would have access to, right? I mean, the dude is literally a snake. But regardless, Sai goes over with them, and the team would follow Sai, being like, "He's a traitor, right?" And Sai goes over there, and immediately the team, seeing Sai like getting to that area, would pretty much end up making it into the hideout, where Naruto would end up running into Sasuke. Now immediately once this happens, Sasuke blows that entire place up, and from here he would look down onto the entirety of Team 7, which is Yamato, Naruto, and Sai. And what pretty much ends up happening here is that essentially Naruto would be like, "Finally, Sasuke, found you after all this time. You've been hiding, you know. It's not really fair that you got to come over here and train with this guy while I had to train my ass off to try to kill him. What are you doing with the enemy, Sasuke? I told you the last time we met that I'd bring you back, and finally, I'm gonna get to do just that. Sasuke looks at Naruto and smiles, and he's like, be quiet, loser. As from here, he goes on to essentially stand right next to Naruto with his sword in his hand, and Naruto from here is like, funny, as he places a flying Raijin mark on Sasuke, and immediately what would end up happening is Naruto goes on to essentially use that marking, as once Sasuke essentially pretty much like pushes off of Naruto and goes to take care of the rest of Team 7, Naruto essentially throws kunais into the air, and Sasuke would be surprised, like, what's going on? Immediately Naruto begins teleporting around all the area, and Sasuke would finally begin to realize that Naruto is not by any means weak. Naruto begins to speed blitz around Sasuke, and they're both actually relatively around the same level. Sasuke, realizing just how powerful and fast Naruto is, would end up actually having to tap into the second stage of his curse mark, and so the real battle would begin. The first battle started with Sasuke getting tagged by a bunch of Naruto's attacks and him overall being on the back foot, but once he activates his curse mark, he would finally be able to keep up with Naruto slightly. And as soon as Naruto sees this, he would say, looks like I'm gonna have to whip this out then, as he uses the power of Kurama and activates two tails, leading him to basically keep up and be basically on par with Sasuke, as he goes on to essentially begin fighting him, and the battle would be a very, very destructive one. Naruto slams massive Rasengans into craters, with Sasuke barely being able to dodge due to the fact that he has the Sharingan, and it would be a very epic battle visually speaking, because Sasuke would come in with Chidori attacks and lightning strikes. Naruto gets pierced, but he heals. He rushes in and claws at Sasuke. Sasuke is pretty much using everything and anything that he has in his arsenal to try to fight back. Naruto's teleporting all over the place, and Sasuke is just completely getting overwhelmed, noticing that Naruto is definitely stronger. Orochimaru, once realizing this, tells Sasuke that they need to retreat, but Sasuke is not having this. He is angry because Naruto was stronger than him back then, and he even himself knows that Naruto definitely was holding back such a long time ago, with him saying, stop holding back, Naruto. And from here, Naruto says, fine, Sasuke, as in a thud, Sasuke and Naruto are both in the air, you know, pretty much with Sasuke using his wings to fly and Naruto using explosions from his feet and hands to stay up, as they Chidori and Rasengan clash, and Sasuke is sent catapulting into the floor like a meteor basically, as Orochimaru and Kabuto retreat, and Sasuke is from here restrained by Naruto and dragged back to the village. Literally, he puts him inside of like this these seals on him, and he even seals his eyes, and then using the flying Raijin, all of them end up making their way back to Konoha, where Naruto would be very, very much so drained of energy because of the fact that he had to use a bunch of stuff to fight against Orochimaru, then fight against Sasuke, and then use the flying Raijin to make it back home. He was pretty much drained of all chakra. And for the next day, he would just relax and sleep it all off, recovering his chakra back in the very, very obvious Naruto-like fashion, right? But as this is all happening, Sasuke would finally wake up and be like, Naruto, you can't do this to me. I was this close to fighting against Itachi. What are you doing? And, you know, at this current moment, I think I should mention the Asuma fight and, you know, Asuma's death would actually be going down simultaneously, as Jiraiya, this same day that Naruto would have been asleep, would have ended up going off to face off against, you know, Pain and stuff like that. Now, Naruto, believing in his sensei Jiraiya and just like having been with him for that much time, would not feel the need to go and rescue him, because he feels like that would be a little bit of a disrespectful to his mentor, and so he just has all of his faith on Jiraiya placed. As you know, Naruto finally ends up going off to see Sasuke, and they end up talking with the supervision of other ninjas around. Sasuke ends up telling Naruto that he was this close to finally facing off against Itachi, and that he had received the crow telling him to face off against him in 3 weeks, or no, in 1 week. With Naruto being like, well, I guess you're not gonna get to fight your big brother now, huh? You don't get to fight your big brother, and I don't get to kill Orochimaru. That's how this ends, Sasuke. You're staying in the cell. Naruto would then walk away as Sasuke screams, "Damn it, Naruto! You don't know how it feels!" And Naruto would say, "And I don't ever want to know how it feels, Sasuke. You're so snared by revenge that you don't even see that you're destroying yourself. What's this gonna lead to, Sasuke? Let's say you kill your brother. Then what? What's gonna happen after that?" And Sasuke grits his teeth, not being able to say anything else, as basically the battle between Itachi and Sasuke doesn't end up actually playing out because Sasuke is literally trapped in confinements, and Naruto at this moment ends up pretty much having to learn about the fact that, Asuma died, and thus Kakashi and Yamato at this current moment would end up trying to teach Naruto the Rasen Shuriken Jutsu. He ends up learning it just like he would in the original with the help of Sakura and a little bit of help from, Kakashi and Yamato. And he gets the technique down packed. At this moment, he ends up having to go off and, pretty much use his Rasengan-like abilities to essentially try to beat the enemy, which is Kakuzu. He arrives onto the battlefield with Choji and everybody else struggling, and at this current moment, Kakuzu would have pretty much split his heart at this moment, essentially using them to tag all of team, the team that was be present and essentially get the upper hand on them. But Naruto arrives, and as soon as he gets onto the battlefield, he throws, basically a couple of kunai at the direction of Kakuzu, who would basically just kind of shoot like beams of energy that would just kind of like destroy them of chakra. And from here, Naruto would essentially just have to rely on his pure basic speed. But because he kind of does need both of his hands there to actually be able to like pretty much like shoot himself and keep constant hold of the Rasengan, which he still doesn't have perfect control over, mind you, so it's hard for him to just like fly through the air to use it. So he pretty much ends up creating a couple of shadow clones which would rush in with maximum speed and kind of just begin tagging Kakuzu. Massive explosions would be going off, and at this current moment, Kakuzu would actually be struggling to hold off these versions of Naruto, which are very, very much capable of keeping up with him. And at this moment, Naruto has one of them have a seal on him. This clone would get extremely close to Kakuzu, and Naruto just murmurs, "Checkmate." As from here, he blitzes in the direction as, he teleports in front of the clone, and bam! Rasen Shuriken straight to the abdominal area of Kakuzu as he is sent flying and the iconic Naruto music begins playing as Kakuzu is completely enveloped in the Rasen Shuriken, and Naruto goes on to get his pretty much first kill of the series, basically. And after this pretty much happens, everybody would be watching Naruto having, defeated Kakuzu, with Shikamaru arriving onto the battlefield watching the jutsu and smirking, thinking that Naruto is definitely, was definitely needed for this mission. As from here, Naruto was congratulated by everybody, and that jutsu would have definitely taken a little bit out of Naruto, a definite toll, seeing as, it still does hurt him, and Tsunade does tell him not to use that jutsu, that it's going to be classified as an S rank jutsu. And just to say, this time, even though it does hurt him, it's literally not even half as bad as it would be in the original. Tsunade this time doesn't pretty much prohibit him from using it, but she essentially tells him to use it calmly, like not to overdo it, and to essentially try his best to like moderate the amount of like usage that he does whenever he does inevitably have to use the jutsu. And basically what ends up happening is Naruto essentially just works on the jutsu a little bit more, and in a couple of days, if not like basically just in due time, that jutsu will become a lot more easier for Naruto to use, seeing as he already had a way better control over his wind nature, which will already been mastered. This jutsu would be way easier for Naruto to use, not to mention more powerful. And it would be around this same time that Naruto would end up getting the news of Jiraiya's death. Once Naruto hears of this, he gets enraged like never before. And because of this said fact, Naruto this time around is just like unconsolable. Like Naruto is feeling rage like never before, and he's angry at the fact that he didn't go help his sensei. He could have, if he would have been there with him, Jiraiya would have never died. But Naruto has Shikamaru and others there to actually cheer him up, and Naruto would in this moment be like, now I understand you, Sasuke. Like, now I understand why you weren't willing, why you wanted this revenge so badly. Like, you lost your family, that dude killed him. Like, I just lost basically my godfather. I just lost my family, and I want to kill him so bad with every fiber of my being. I want revenge. So, you know, he tells Sasuke that after, you know, he ends up pretty much mastering a certain technique and essentially taking out his foe, that he will personally accompany him to go kill his brother. Sasuke smirks and tells Naruto that that's all he needed to hear. As from here, Naruto begins training for learning the Sage Mode technique with the frogs in Mount Miyaboku. And so, Naruto's Sage Mode training would commence. Naruto would begin his journey by being reverse summoned to Mount Miyaboku, where he would spend the next week mastering Sage Mode, and although the path he took to achieve Sage Mode doesn't really change, his rate of learning would now actually be affected a lot, because this time around Naruto would be so preoccupied with the idea of revenge, having so much more of a different personality and different reaction to when he learns about Jiraiya's death, that he would be so much more preoccupied with the idea of revenge than even OG Naruto himself. So it would take him a bit longer, like an extra 3 minutes. And trust, that's a big deal, because the Naruto in this version, had he never had to deal with something like that, he probably would have learned Sage Mode at least a day earlier than the one that we get in canon, because he understands his body and he has a better connection with himself, with the chakra natures that he does have access to, and overall he is just a much more skilled and talentful ninja because of the extra years of training and dedication that he has put into his craft. And so these 3 minutes, you guys might be thinking, oh, okay, whatever. He takes 3 more minutes, like learning Sage Mode, bro. Like, what is that? Like, that doesn't even matter. 3 minutes is nothing. But this would actually be a huge deal, because now that means that for 3 extra minutes than in the original, the Leaf Village would be desperate, and so they would actually have to release Sasuke and let him actually be the one to face off against Pain, since he is, well, their last hope. And so we would end up getting Sasuke versus Pain. Now, this battle isn't going to be a very long one, but it's something that I've always wanted to personally see, and so I thought that it would make a perfect inclusion for this series. That said, the battle would commence with Sasuke creating 6 shadow clones and saying he'll be the one who faces off against them until somebody else shows up. And so he would rush in and get repelled immediately by the Diva Paths, as the rest of them would lunge in at the direction of Sasuke and his clones, landing vicious attacks, popping many of the clones into shadow immediately as soon as they were taken out, as Sasuke would use his intelligence to keep them at bay and try to hold them off eventually, until he finally has to use more of his abilities, and the curse mark would be something that he has to use in order to barely be able to keep up with these ninjas. And so Sasuke would fly through the air as the Paths of Pain with missiles would begin shooting missiles off at his direction, with Sasuke doing his absolute best to dodge out of the way as the Diva Path would pull him in closer, trying to make it easier for the rest of the paths to actually land attacks on Sasuke. From here, Sasuke, noticing this, would end up using this substitution jutsu, as he would begin to try to use fire styles to potentially break a path off of Pain, ultimately destroying one as he slams a long Chidori into it, and Sasuke begins to get worried as he realizes he will need to use Kirin if this goes on, but he's unsure if it'll even hit them, as, you know, they're all in sync and they might just be able to dodge it if he just uses it blindly. And so suddenly the paths would come in and begin to ricochet Sasuke around like some sort of plaything, as they slam him in the ground and put a boot to his head, telling Sasuke that he's even weaker than Itachi. From here, that this would immediately trigger Sasuke, because it's like someone's literally telling him that his brother's better than him, and he is absolutely not standing for this. So once Sasuke hears this, he would immediately get mad, as he would use Kirin and drop it down onto the Paths of Pain that are away from the Diva Path, destroying 4 paths in the process, as only 2 more are left, the Diva Path and Preda Path, I believe. or the one that, accesses the king of hell. But from here, the main path would tell him that he has accomplished nothing, as all the paths were brought back and Sasuke is literally about to be killed when Naruto, the hero, would step in, blitzing in with an explosion and saving Sasuke by grabbing him by the collar and dragging him away with him before Pain could stab him in the heart. From here, he would go on and put Sasuke down, as he would tell him he'll handle it from here, and Sasuke would say, "In your dreams, Naruto, I'm just as much a part of this battle as you are now, and I'm gonna single-handedly kill this bastard." Naruto chuckles and tells Sasuke to keep up, as he would blitz in with a kunai in hand and blast a massive explosion onto the Diva Path's face, or actually no, not the Diva Path, but the other one, as he would blow it into a million pieces with the howitzer impact. And Sasuke, low on chakra, would shoot a Chidori, tagging the one that healed all of the other paths with a misdirection like attack, right? And it's at this moment that Pain wouldn't even expect Naruto to do what he's about to do. Naruto from here would whip out like 100 clones that would blast heavy like explosions, causing the Diva Path to get worried, as Naruto begins to absolutely take over and grab Sasuke as he tells him if he's ready. Sasuke nods as he blitzes in and throws Sasuke in as hard as he can, as Sasuke lunges at the Diva Path with a Chidori in his hand, and it's actually an Onyx Chidori. He's flying as well because he's in a second stage curse mark form, and just bam, blitzes straight into Pain and just completely destroys that path. As from here, the only thing left in the area are just a bunch of path receivers on the ground, which Naruto, using Sage Mode, would be able to trace back to the paths of Pain, or Nagato, sorry, and from here he would tell Sasuke to remain in the village and protect them in case anybody else arrives to fight. And so Sasuke would nod, and Sakura, finally coming in, would begin to heal Sasuke. She begins to cry and ask him why he left. Sasuke would remain silent as his demeanor would slowly begin to change, and Naruto from here would go off to find Pain, as he goes on to give him the speech that he would have actually gotten about revenge and about justice that Pain would have given to Naruto when he was standing above him. But this time he doesn't do it then, but after. And from here, he would go on to tell him that it's unfair that he gets his revenge and he doesn't, that the lives of the villagers in his land were just as important as his, and that if he gets justice and he doesn't, then how is that truly revenge? How is that fair from his justice? From here, Naruto, after listening to this, would begin to kind of understand where Pain is coming from, and so would actually begin to have a different view on the world and a new perspective that Pain would have actually brought onto Naruto. As from here, Naruto, after hearing these words from Pain, would use a Takno Jutsu to immediately cause Nagato to use the Rinne Rebirth to bring back countless of people back to life, leading Naruto to return to Konoha and essentially be hailed a hero. As from here, Naruto goes on to rest for a couple of hours, and the next day he would wake up as he goes over to Sasuke's, old home, where he would ask Sasuke how he's doing. Now, Sasuke, upon, seeing Naruto, would be like, "Hey, Naruto," as, both of them begin speaking to each other. And from here, we would essentially get a scene where Naruto holds a picture up of them when they were kids, as he asks Sasuke how he's been. But it's at this moment that he would be right about to answer, when suddenly, Naruto and Sasuke would notice this dark crow coming in, as it would actually drop a letter off in front of Sasuke. And from here, Sasuke begins to open the letter, only to find out that it's pretty much his older brother, pretty much telling him that he's finally ready to fight and challenging him to meet him at a certain location. Sasuke, reading this letter, would immediately have his vision get tunnel-like vision, as he looks at Naruto and tells him that it's time. Naruto nods, and from here they prepare, as Naruto tells Sasuke that if they do this, they're gonna do this the right way. He grabs his things and leaves a note in case they don't come back, which he highly doubts, but from here they go off for an all-out battle with Itachi. On their way there, silence would have pretty much been the main thing that was around the air, and just like this, there would just be this aura of just pressure that you could literally cut with a knife. As eventually they would arrive onto the battle location, and Kisame would allow Sasuke to go in, but he would actually stop Naruto with him telling him that he can't pass. Naruto from here looks at Kisame as he laughs in his face. And from here, Naruto lifts his hand up slowly, just bam, explosion, straight to the face of Kisame, with Kisame pretty much being sent back flying and saying that it's about time that he got to get his little revenge for the last encounter that they had. Now, I'm honestly not 100% too positive if this is the same series that I'm thinking about, but I'm almost sure that what's it called? No, it's not this one. It was another series. But, you know, Naruto did encounter Kisame in this version, I do believe. But, you know, he's like, you've grown quite a bit since the last time I saw you, Nine Tails. As from here, Naruto pretty much goes on to crack his neck and knuckles, saying that, you know, there's no way he's gonna stop him from following Sasuke, telling him that he must be joking since he already defeated their leader. So why should he even be afraid of some underling, as he would blast off an explosion shooting towards Kisame as he proceeds to throw flying Raijin kunais in the air, and from here would tag Kisame with explosive punches and even some Rasengan, which he would manage to handle quite well. Eventually the smoke would clear and Kisame would get up smiling after a long fought battle with Naruto that would actually just pretty much be consumed with taijutsu attacks, and Kisame shooting some water styles as well as using his blade to actually tag Naruto a couple of times. Not too many, since he does have the ability of the flying Raijin, and when Kisame was about to land some dangerous attacks and blows, Naruto would simply be able to just use his teleportation jutsu and get out of the way before he could get tagged with the gigantic sword that could suck out his chakra. Pause. But regardless though, Kisame would get up after having been tagged by a Rasengan, and he would smile, saying that he hasn't cut loose in a while. As Naruto says, you know, I was the one who killed Akatsuki and Pain, and you know what? I wouldn't mind scratching your name off the list as well. As Kisame smiles and merges with Samehada, as he says he will not lose here to some overconfident brat. And from here, Naruto chuckles and activates Sage Mode as Kisame creates a dome of water around them, and Naruto deducts his explosions will be useless there. And so he proceeds to swim as fast as he can at Kisame, and as he does this, Kisame would do the same as he tries to tag Naruto. But Naruto appears behind him and uses the Rasen Shuriken, slamming so much power into the attack that Kisame is sent flying into the earth, even with the water not letting him completely drag down onto the ground. Kisame would be sent flying into the water, as it would cause a tsunami-like effect with the water jutsu that Kisame would have ended up using, and it would just burst as Naruto finally gets a breath of fresh air and sees Kisame on the ground battered and beaten, till with his last remaining bits of chakra, Kisame forms hand signs, and from here he would find himself inside of a dome of water, as sharks would rip him to pieces, and Naruto would look at that, just thinking to himself that that was a little bit too gruesome. From here, Naruto goes on to teleport next to Sasuke soaking wet as he stops an attack from Itachi, with Sasuke saying that this is his fight and telling Naruto to get out of the way. Naruto, understanding this, would watch from a distance as Sasuke and Itachi would have the same battle that they do in canon, as Naruto witnesses the rest of the battle until the Kirin attack lands and Itachi pulls out the Susanoo. And finally, Itachi would fall to the floor dead, as Obito, who would be watching by closely, would say that it's about time that they step in. He would try to take Sasuke with him, but Naruto would speed blitz in the way and say that he's a fool if he thinks he'll let Sasuke be taken again. As Obito simply lets out, very well then, I guess it's not too early to capture the Nine Tails. And from here he tries to attack Naruto, with Naruto being able to dodge out of the way using the flying Raijin attack, with Obito being surprised at the speed that Naruto's displaying, but not being too shocked considering he is the son of Lord Fourth and his sensei, but Naruto doesn't know this. From here, they begin to fight, and Naruto would activate his Sage Mode as he tries to keep up and has a lot of an easier time reading his movements, but just like Obito, he is not able to kind of dodge everything. But Obito from here would start moving faster and faster, and it's almost as if he's kind of playing with Naruto, like he's toying with him. Naruto would use his flying Raijin attack kunais to essentially dodge out of very, very heavy attacks, but would be tagged by a bunch of Obito's attacks that he wouldn't use that are not too dangerous, right? But regardless, Naruto would realize midway through the fight that he has to get distance between them, blasting away as Obito would smile, and from here Obito pretty much stops playing around with Naruto. Naruto throws a kunai at the direction of Obito and it goes right through his head. And in a scene almost mirror-like to Minato versus Obito, Naruto rushes in at Obito as he blitzes to the kunai, only for Obito, to murmur, "Like father, like son," turning around rapidly to stab a rod of chakra straight into Naruto as he would fall onto the ground and Obito would stand over him, with Naruto at this moment beginning to stare at Obito as he kicks him on the ground and tells him that he wasn't very fun. From here, his voice deepens and he finally reveals that he is, Madara Uchiha, or so they would all be thinking, right? As it's at this point that Naruto would legit just start watching as Obito picks Sasuke up, and Naruto in an instant would snap into the Nine Tails like state, right? As from here, he rushes back into the fight, and now it begins to look like a way more even battle than it was before. Naruto can now somewhat keep up with him, with Obito actually having his Mangekyo Sharingan activated, and explosions would begin going off left and right as they begin fighting on par. As they continue clashing, Kurama inside of Naruto's mindscape would tell him that even though he hates Naruto, he hates that man even more, saying to bump fists with him and that living is better than dying for 10 years. As from here, he gives Naruto access to KCM2, and Naruto at this moment can finally start to take over the battle and overpowering Obito, because normally in KCM1, Naruto could actually keep up with him, but since this time he's actually using KCM2, he would actually be able to dodge, and now Naruto from here would go on to throw a bunch of kunai as, they would spread throughout the battlefield, and Naruto would just begin blitzing from each one individually and using a bunch of shadow clones to pretty much tag Obito with a bunch of Rasengan attacks, or so he thinks. He would tag him with a couple, but eventually it would become painfully clear that the abilities of Kamui are a little too much for Naruto to handle, so he would end up throwing a multiplying explosive tag into Obito, as Obito absorbs it into the Kamui dimension since he figured out it was a kunai, but it's actually an explosive tag with the transformation jutsu on it, as Naruto continues attacking with a smile on his face, and Obito doesn't notice as he's busy phasing his body into the Kamui dimension. But as he does this, his body would come back in tatters and exploded quite literally, because Naruto's explosive tag would be dealing damage to Naruto in the dimension of Kamui itself, and it would kind of force Naruto to essentially go all out for the next 20 seconds, as the explosions will only continue for 20 to 25 seconds, and Naruto would begin to deal damage to Obito, slamming a Rasen Shuriken and massive explosions onto Obito, which he would even have to use Izanagi for in order not to die. And from here, the battle would continue with each trying to kill the other as fast as they can. Naruto from here though would charge a massive explosion and fly in at Obito as he blasts an explosion so massive it's comparable to Kirin, and Obito would be able to get completely fucked as Naruto lands and just looks at Obito, who's on the ground, finally now having been defeated. Naruto finally would stand over Obito and realize that he accomplished what nobody else could do. He defeated the true leader of the Akatsuki. And now, Naruto quite literally, unknowingly, just saved the 4th grade Shinobi World War from happening. You guys from here might be wondering how that's even possible, but listen to this. Sasuke in the original was the true reason that Obito was able to actually wage war, and Obito was only to wage war because he went over to, Orochimaru and Kabuto. But because Orochimaru's not dead yet, because Sasuke doesn't end up killing him, and Naruto still hasn't tied that loose end up quite yet, Kabuto and Orochimaru are still there, so Kabuto never gets the chance to absorb Orochimaru, thus creating the reanimation jutsus, people that would have came back in the 4th Great Ninja War, and Sasuke never would have been there to actually quote-unquote capture B. So this would never prompt the Raikage to start the 5 Kage Summit, and thus the 4th Great Shinobi World War would be entirely avoided. Because Naruto this time tagged along with Sasuke, he would actually be there right next to him, helping him defeat his brother, and ultimately Naruto, using this opportunity, would defeat the true leader of the Akatsuki, which means we never gain access to characters like Madara and Kaguya. We never get the DLC pack that we never really needed, which is kind of a good thing considering that the final battle, if this was animated, would be so sick. Just imagine Naruto KCM explosions from his hand, like it would just be great. Like if I'm just putting it into a bit of a perspective, like it would genuinely be incredible to witness this. And so this is kind of where the series of what if Naruto had Bakugo's explosion quirk would end. I think that this is personally one of the best series that I've done on the channel for a while, if we're not including my what if Deku was isekai'd into Naruto, because I also did create that as well. That's a series you guys should definitely go check out, and I think you guys will definitely love that one a little bit more than this one, if not less, but they're both great series overall, and I definitely recommend checking out what if Deku was isekai'd to Naruto. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion to the what if, and if you guys enjoyed it, it would mean the world to me if you guys could actually slap that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if you guys made it to the end. It would mean a whole lot, seeing as your boy, you know, your boy wouldn't mind a little early Christmas gift. But regardless though, ladies and gentlemen, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Xehther, and I am out. Peace.